Hey, good afternoon, morning, afternoon, and evening. Wait, did I mess that up? Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Whatever time you're listening to this podcast. This is episode 59. I called it 60 during the podcast, and then I went back and I was like, oh, wait, this is only 59. Episode 59 of Clemente's Corner. I appreciate y'all for listening. Always a big supporter of my supporters. So thank you for everyone on here. I'll go over my ads, my sponsors real quick. As always, is brought to you by Spitefully Spicy, really delicious hot sauce, bottled and distributed by a good friend of mine, Colin Robinson, very funny comedian. If you've been around town, you've seen him. He's hilarious. Go to Spitefully Spicy on Instagram. That's the @ name. You can go on there, see the options. They got really good stuff like ghost pepper, mixed like blueberry. They got all kinds of stuff. It's insane. It's delicious. It's hot, but it's also fruity, so it gives you like a good aftertaste. So it's not like it is hot, but it's not like too hot. You know what I mean? It's good. It's good. And it's lots of flavors, like 10 different flavors. Still working on it. DM the dude if you want some hot sauce, because it's fire. Fire, fire, fire. It goes on everything too. So, yo. Also, nothirdlane.com. NOTHIRDLANE.com. Okay? It's a lifestyle brand created by my homie Christian Spring, out here grinding out of Lubbock, Texas. Shout out to that dude. He makes apparel, t-shirts, stickers, hoodies, hats. He's got it all. And it's a really awesome brand, really cool logo, really cool message behind it too. And 10% of the proceeds go towards college students to help with scholarships. Who doesn't like free money, you know? So go out and support that dude. He also just, we're getting t-shirts for Yellow City Comedy. He created the t-shirts for us, and they're being printed. They're being shipped as we speak. Super excited. We got a show Friday over at Whiskey River. Hopefully we got the shirts by then. If not, bring them to our next show, you know? Try them out. They're real cool. YCC Yellow City Comedy. I guess we're sponsored by that as well, even though I'm a member. Yellow City Comedy. And also, guess what? We got a new, that's right. We got a new sponsor. Dragster Tubes. Go to dragstertubes.com. They're telescopic paparosa tubes. They're kind of like pre-rolled papers. You put tobacco in or any other, substances. I don't do those. They're illegal. But you use it like a straw. It's really cool. It's like this paper, and you can extend it. You can shorten it. Depending on your preference, you suck it up like a straw, and it packs it in for you, so you don't have to roll. You don't have to do any of the pre-work. It's all done ahead of time. You can get them at Green Gorilla. You can get them on Amazon, Facebook, Instagram. That is dragstertubes.com. Life is short, do it hard. That's their catchphrase. Telescopic paparosa tubes. I don't know what those words mean, okay? But it sounds cool. You feel me? And they're really dope. Like I said, it works like a straw. Super awesome. Very practical. You know what I mean? Style and satisfaction throughout the process, everybody. Tradition since 1930. That's Dragster Paparosa Tubes. Hell yeah. Anyway, today's episode number 59, we had on Gabe Kaspar, local comedian, very funny guy. He's very in depth. He's way deeper than I actually expected. He actually started his own podcast called Ghost of Tex. That's Ghost of TEX, and it's all the same places you can find my podcast. So check that out. He's just did his first episode, and it's really going to be movie based. He's going to review movies. He's a really big movie buff, as we discuss throughout the podcast. Dude goes super in depth. He's extremely smart. I knew he was smart because I heard his jokes and everything. He has smart jokes, but he's way smarter and more in depth than I expected. We talk about movies, comedy, religion. He does a great Jerry Seinfeld impression. So you guys are going to love this podcast. It's a lot of fun. Doing it. So please stay tuned, and thank you for listening. Beginning episode was groundbreaking.
Did you hear about that new podcast that's really blowing up? What happens? He beats his dog out there. I hear the next guest on his show is going to be Michael Vick. Followed by Bob Barker.
He doesn't beat dogs anymore. We're good.
He moves on to cats.
It's a weird way because I started recording as we were talking about beating dogs, and I just have to.
We
PSA,
just lost some sponsors.
We don't beat dogs. We hug dogs.
We love dogs. I'm a dog person.
I'm a person who likes dogs. I'm not a dog person. I'm just a regular human.
No, I got bit by a radioactive dog.
Radioactive. Do you have dog powers?
A little bit. Like, I'm
Okay.
really good at smelling asses.
Now I'm going to do a pause real quick just to make sure this sounds good.
Okay.
And if it sounds good, we're going to keep it in because that's
All right.
really good. So let's get started. I'm here on episode 60. Whoa, that's crazy. 60 episodes in. I never thought I'd be at this point, you know.
I'm proud of
Last
you, man.
January. It's pretty exciting. It's very you're
would be.
gonna love it. I'm here with Gabe Kaspar. He's a local comedian, very funny guy. He's underage, so he's not drinking beers. But he's also starting his own podcast. Tell him about your new podcast.
Yeah, I think earlier this week I recorded the first episode, and the podcast is named Ghost of Tex.
Ghost of Tex.
And on there, it's a lot of talk about movies. So I talk about new movies, old movies, and sometimes I analyze them. Sometimes I'm going to be talking about the directors themselves or how the styles changed over the years for certain genres. And then I do what's called director spotlights, where I talk about certain directors in history and how they've changed since their start at their filmography.
Dang, that's interesting. So
I try to be.
big into that.
Try to be as pretentious as I can.
That's
be.
cool. It's cool that your podcast has like a theme,
Yeah,
and mine's just like me.
I was kind of worried when I was thinking of doing a podcast because I thought about that at first, where I was like, maybe I'm just gonna be me talking about me,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't think that'd be good. And then I saw a lot of comedians did like sports podcasts, and I was like, I don't know enough about sports to make a good podcast out of it. And I was like, I'm a huge movie nerd, so why not do movie talks and then talk with comedians, make fun of movies.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Top 5 movies
Top 5 movies for me.
Yeah.
Like, you're just putting me on the spot for that
right now.
Number 5, Watchmen. Number 4,
Horrible. Just kidding, it's
Django
cool. I
Unchained.
haven't seen it. Django's awesome.
Number 3, The Accountant. Number 2,
Is that with Ben Affleck?
yeah,
These are all recent. I like that. Keep
I
going.
really like it. Number 2 is Blade Runner,
Blade Runner.
and number 1 is Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, that's a great movie.
My favorite movie of all time.
That scene with the bear Jew
Yeah,
is like
you know who plays him?
a large Jewish man.
No, it's a guy named Eli Roth, who's a very famous director.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2018 was his year as a director. He did 3 separate projects throughout the year. He did the reboot for Death Wish with Bruce Willis, and then he did The House with a Clock in Its Walls. That was with Jack Black. It was that kids movie. And then on AMC, he did a docuseries about the history of horror films.
Nice.
He's a really smart guy.
You're way more into movies than me. That's impressive. That's pretty cool.
That's why I wanted to do a podcast, so I can just talk out of my ass.
Glorious Bastards.
What a good movie.
That's cool. Are there any recent movies like you saw that you thought were really good?
Well, next episode, I'm doing my top 5 movies of the year on the podcast.
Ooh.
And recently I was thinking of what to put in number 5 because I just kept going back and forth.
Deadpool 2 would be somewhere in my top 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think about it that much. I know I was going to do like an honorable mentions thing and do Deadpool 2 and like Avengers Infinity War.
Did Get Out come out this year?
That was last year.
Oh, okay. That was a great
It
movie.
was within my top 3 of last year, without a doubt.
Nice. So you do this? You like make a top 5 every year?
Oh, no. Well, I probably would, yeah. I thought you meant like that my plans for the podcast. I was like, I have no idea. But the next episode, I'm going to do the top 5 movies. The only one I'm not sure on right now is number 5. I'm deciding between Death Wish and crap, what was that movie?
I don't think I've even seen Death Wish.
Sorry to Bother You. That's the other one.
No, you're fine.
No, that's the name of the movie. Sorry to Bother You. Oh, did I just miss the joke? Was that just a whoosh?
Yeah, it was a bad joke. It's a bad joke. Creed 2. I still want to see that one.
I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's really good though.
Yeah.
I still got to see Green Book.
I haven't seen any of the superhero movies, so I can't really comment on those.
I thought you saw Deadpool.
Well, I didn't really count him as a superhero, but yeah, I saw Deadpool. I didn't.
Infinity War was really good.
I don't know what's going on with the Avengers. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Just know Stan Lee died.
They just turned him into a bunch of ashtrays.
But I think if they collect all the Thanos rocks, they can wish Stan Lee back or something like that. All right, that's how
Close,
that works.
that's about close enough. I think you're really nailing it.
He'll be back soon. Don't worry.
And I heard he did a cameo in the new Spider-Man movie that's coming out this month.
Nice. There's another Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's an animated one.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
It's got that guy from New Girl playing Peter Parker.
That's interesting. What was I going to say? I saw a tweet the other day. Are you on Twitter?
Barely.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody tweeted like the only way to stop Thanos is to bring up his homophobic tweets from 2009.
I saw one post on iFunny where it was a bunch of the female superheroes like Captain Marvel and Black Widow and a few of the Black Panther characters. And they were like, all the ladies can go and stop Thanos. And then the comment beneath it was like, what are they going to do? Accuse him of sexual harassment?
That's the thing. That's the power.
It's probably the only thing Black Widow can do, because what the hell is her purpose when you're fighting that guy? You're fighting Grimace from McDonald's.
I don't know. What does Black Widow even do?
I don't know, scissor kick people?
Does she have powers?
No, she just has like little electric batons.
When I was a kid, I just knew she was famous for having large breasts, which is really most female superheroes.
Yeah, a lot of them have. A lot of them do have very big breasts. They've shrunk over the years. Let's talk about that. The shrinking of the breasts of
That's
female
good.
superheroes.
They've gotten bigger roles and smaller breasts. I respect that.
Totally progressive.
Mm-hmm. More about the mind, and the hard work, and less about about the other things.
The mind's in the head, not in the chest.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Male Feminist Podcast.
Male Feminist Podcast.
No, for the record, though, I'm going to tell you this. I am going to walk out on this show if we don't spend the rest of the episode doing a Jerry Seinfeld impression. Going, what's the deal with podcasts? They make no sense. Oh, you recorded my voice. It was for a thing called Me Movie.
That's hilarious. That was so much fun at IHOP.
Yeah, I guess we should tell that story.
That was hilarious.
We spent this one time after the Tease Bar show.
Yeah, great show too.
It was like 2 a.m. and we went down to IHOP just because I guess we were still wanting to hang out. And then we spent like 30 straight minutes of us having a back and forth conversation in Jerry Seinfeld's voice.
Why do they call it IHOP?
I didn't hop over anything to get in.
I think you do it better than me.
Thank you very much.
I got to go home and practice. I'm already home.
You know the key to it, the key to anything.
B-movie!
B-movie! The key to any sort of knowledge or skill or anything is just not having a life. That's the real key.
It is the key. Like
just stay as far away from vagina as you can.
I practiced really hard at doing Morgan Freeman, and I got Morgan Freeman down.
Really? Tell me. I want to hear it.
All right. Hello. I'm Morgan Freeman, and you're listening to Clemente's Corner.
That's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad. The last impression I think I really went for was two of the Big Mouth characters, where I was doing like Coach Steve, which is just Nick Kroll talking in a very heavy accent. I still haven't gotten
into Big Mouth, but I love Nick Kroll.
Nick Kroll does like every voice on that show.
John Mulaney too.
Yeah, didn't John Mulaney do a stand-up special this year?
Yeah, it was really good.
Good for him. I'm happy for him.
Killing it.
And then I saw one thing where Nick Kroll and John Mulaney were doing like a Broadway show or something on Netflix.
Yeah, with the hello.
Oh, is that what it was?
I'm Gil Faison, charmed, I'm sure. It's like the two old Jews.
Oh, I gotta watch that. God damn it! I can't believe I missed that.
They're hosting the Oscars now. In character, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be super funny. Like I'm glad.
Yeah.
That.
Which is funny, yeah, because when I heard about the Kevin Hart thing, I was like, oh, that's a bit of a bummer for him. And then now I'm hearing this, and now I'm definitely gonna watch the Oscars.
Now it's way better.
Yeah.
Like I hate award shows, but I want to see those two guys talk shit as two old Jewish men because that's fun.
Yeah. Kind of helps with the diversity thing. They're like, you got rid of the black guy. And they're like, well, we got two Jewish guys. It evens out. Which then is kind of fucked up because then you realize that one Jew is equal to one half of a black guy.
What's with all the Jewish comedians?
I'm getting tired of them. Get them out of here. They only count for half of the black ones.
Oh, Seinfeld's probably Jewish. I don't even know.
He is.
He is? Oh, okay. Seinfeld. Okay.
It's Seinfeld. Did you? He does your taxes and he tells you a joke.
This is the male feminist anti-Semite podcast.
We're so multifaceted. We're like, we love women, but we hate the Jews.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. Where are we going with all of this? I have no clue.
I think it's going to end with Seinfeld getting Me Too'd.
Oh, I hope not.
That's a logical next step.
I hope not.
I didn't touch that woman. I don't even know her.
What even is a vagina? Just looks like a meaty taco.
That's right, dog.
I remember having a conversation with a few of my friends about that Me Too stuff, and we were like, which one would bum you out the most if, which celebrity would bum you out the most if you found out they were assaulting women?
It's like Skylar's bit about Bradley Cooper. I don't know if you've heard that one.
Yeah, I have.
Who would upset me the most?
For me, I know the top two. It would either be Robin Williams or Mr. Rogers.
But he's already dead.
Well, he's already dead.
Is Mr. Rogers still alive?
No.
Well, you can't name two dead people.
I'm not talking about dead people. I'm just saying if they just found out, like, there were skeletons in their closet and it turns out they were assaulting women.
Okay, mine would be Gandhi. No. And Buddha.
I thought you were going to be like Gandhi and Hitler because I didn't think it was going to get any worse.
That's hilarious. That'd be a great premise.
Yeah, use it, man. Use it.
Hitler Me Too'd. That's so funny. That's just a funny idea.
Use it, man. Use it. I give it to you, my child.
Let me think of. I'm trying to think of a celebrity that I would be shocked with. Like I guess like Chris Pratt. That would be sad.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah, Chris Pratt. That would really bum me out. I mean, if I was going for surprising, especially dead, I would have said Stephen Hawking. I would have said, "How does he get that done?" Please unzip your panties. There's no way you're gonna get sponsorships for this, man. I am so sorry.
It's all good. I'm doing this for free. I'm doing this for fun. I don't care about sponsors.
Same goes.
Shout out to my sponsors, though.
I know. What's funny is that people are gonna hear this and go, "This guy's pretty interesting. I want to listen to his podcast." The first episode of my podcast is no jokes. It's just me analyzing a movie and talking about. I think because it was about that new Netflix Western, and I was calling it like The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and how shitty we are.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the new Western that the Coen brothers made on there. They're the guys that made Big Lebowski.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of that. That's cool.
I'm going to do an episode on the Big Lebowski next month.
I love the Big Lebowski. Who doesn't love the Big Lebowski?
Yeah. Pretty much analyzing how it's one of those like classic noir films, but in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting. I like that. You should do Scarface, too.
Yeah, I have a lot of movies on my list right now.
Pulp Fiction?
Yes, Pulp Fiction. The one I'm taking notes on right now, and I've rewatched it about 3 times, and I'm getting ready to analyze it, is From Dusk Till Dawn, which is my favorite vampire movie.
Nice.
Have you seen it?
Who directed that?
Robert Rodriguez, and then the script was written by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And it stars Quentin Tarantino.
Is that where they go out to like that bar in like Mexico or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally didn't get that vibe, like the whole vampire thing. I was like, seems like a pretty regular movie. And then
I had a
last
friend,
30 minutes, like, oh shit.
I had a friend get me to watch it a few years ago, and he was like, I'm not going to tell you what the plot is. Just watch it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is supposed to be like a crime thriller. And then as soon as they had the first lady going after the guy's neck, I was like, didn't see that one coming.
I mean, I've literally only seen it once, so I could be wrong, but I feel like there's a giant lack of foreshadowing, that kind of like, it just comes at you. I don't know.
It just comes at you. But I think that was kind of the point. It was supposed to be like probably the longest jump scare in history.
Yeah.
Where they just a long period of what you think is nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, people are getting eaten.
Because they were chilling in that bar for a long time.
Yeah. They watched Salma Hayek stick her foot in Quentin Tarantino's mouth and drip tequila down there.
Quentin Tarantino.
He has a foot fetish, I think.
He's a weird dude.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Most directors are weird people.
That makes sense.
A lot of people think that Stanley Kubrick is autistic. Well, was autistic. He's dead. Another dead guy.
I mean, autistic people in general, the ones I've seen, tend to be like really book smart and like really,
It's on different levels.
Out there,
That's why they say it's on a spectrum.
But you have someone in your family, right?
Yes, my little brother. He's mid-functioning autistic.
See, I don't know all the details on it.
It's a very complicated thing to really dig into. I mean, every case is different with autism. For my brother at least, he's very, like I said, mid-functioning. So it means that he's able to understand people just fine. Yeah. He has basic motor functions, but he's not very verbal with people. So a lot of times he'll speak in his own like little gibberish language, or he'll say phrases that he does know. And so it's like you said, it's delayed. And it's its own unique variety.
Yeah.
And I would recommend, speaking more of movies, if you really want to, for you listening, if you're trying to get a better perspective on how autism works or how it works in a social standing.
Sling Blade.
Maybe. I was going to say The Accountant, which is another reason why it's one of my favorite movies.
He's autistic in that movie?
He's a high-functioning autistic. But it has a very optimistic message about people that are disabled. It has a good message of saying that those people aren't less than, they're just different.
For sure. That's interesting. Like, is that, when you're on that spectrum, is there like a way that you can improve it, like with as far as like socially?
It's hard to say, just like I said, because it's very case by case when it comes to that. And I think in some cases where somebody's more on the level of Asperger's autism, or they're very, very high in the spectrum, I think enough comfortability with certain people can get them a little bit more social. But I don't think there's, like a social cure for it. And a way to completely revert it or shut it off.
That's interesting. No, because I went to high school with some kids who had autism, and I didn't know they had autism. I just thought they were a little bit different, Like I never saw it as like a disability.
Yes.
I was just like, that's just them, That's just their thing.
And when I was in high school, I helped out a lot with the what was called a Peace Club, and that's when you helped during your study hall and volunteered in the special needs classrooms. And a lot of the people I met with on there, I'm still friends with now.
Nice. That's cool.
They're people
That's
that I
cool.
don't view as really different people, but you can definitely tell they're delayed
Mm.
if you take the second to look at it. But a lot of
I
the
see
times
that.
they're just like everybody else. Even the ones that people are a little bit afraid to look at, or the ones that aren't verbal at all, the ones that move around and gyrate a lot. I don't want to say gyrate, but you know what I'm saying. They're just like everybody else on the inside.
I've been wanting to write a joke where the premise is like the autism. They say on a spectrum, but they also say with sexuality it's on a spectrum. So like you're confusing, like, oh, I didn't know you were gay. It's like, no, I'm autistic, or some form of that where it's like funny.
Yeah, you should use it more with gender spectrums.
Yeah, gender.
So they could be like,
too.
"What's your pronoun?" Retarded.
Retarded. You can't say retarded anymore except on my podcast. This is the only place you can say retarded.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit of bullshit. I'm sorry.
I do too.
I mean, I'm somebody who's definitely against just going out and insulting a person who's disabled, especially a person who can't defend themselves. That's a horrific thing to do. But just going around and going, "You shouldn't say the R word." That's not going to do anything, especially for the people that work so hard to say don't say the R word. Those are the same people who ignore all the shit that actually happens to special needs people, like all the abuse and shit that they go through.
That's true. That's
Especially
scary.
in the school system. You know, Texas, I think, is number 50 in the school system program for special needs.
Number 50.
So I could take my brother any other state, across any lines, and we would be better off. than
Number
here.
50.
It sucks here.
Wow. That's crazy.
Just like Tom Segura said, where he was like, I don't think Texas people want to kill the retarded folks, but I feel like they just do it because this is Texas.
Number 50, though.
Yep.
Jesus.
Absolute worst. And that's including Alaska.
That explains W. Bush. That's perfect. No child left
Dude,
behind.
use that as a joke, man. Do that.
Wow. No, I didn't think, no, because I knew like Oklahoma is like.
I
all those
can't
teachers are
remember if that's
protesting.
for sure. I don't know if they've updated the,
But still, we
the
shouldn't-
statistics,
we
but
should be-
we'd have to check it.
If we're Texas, we should be like top 15, in everything.
Yeah,
And we're over
because it's Texas.
50.
That's the thing about Texas, though. A lot of it's, a lot of parts of Texas are beautiful, and a lot of elements of Texas make it one of the greatest states in the union. And then other stuff, it's like, man, this state's a real shithole. And there are other times, whenever I get really fed up with this state and other areas, I'm like, God, one of the worst states of the union, if not the worst state in the union. And then other times, I'm like, you're not going to get this in any other place.
Yeah.
Like if you ever go to the plains around here,
Great.
you're not gonna get that in Nebraska. You're not
For
gonna
sure.
get that in Colorado.
I have a theory that Vermont doesn't exist. Have you ever seen Vermont?
Like on a map?
No, like in real life.
Well, no. How do you see a state in real life?
It's not real.
Like, have I ever stepped foot in the
Have you
state of
stepped
Vermont?
foot in Vermont?
No.
See, it doesn't exist. I don't believe it. If you guys have ever been to Vermont, hit me up because I don't believe in it right now.
That's a weird thing to do. Just like
Yeah.
I've never seen.
Give
Have you
up on
ever?
it.
Have you ever
Give
seen
up
that? Therefore, it doesn't exist.
Polar bears aren't real. Seals, never seen a seal.
Yeah, but they have seals in like movies.
Fake as hell.
It's a fake seal. It's a little animatronic seal. They're like,
government.
yeah, it's a real seal. Yeah, have you ever seen the Muppets? Same fucking thing.
It's a government lying to you, bro. Seals don't exist.
Honestly, I could see Alex Jones doing that within the next week. The globalists are spreading around the ideas that seals exist. I don't believe it.
No one I know has ever been to Vermont.
Let me tell you something. If those seals were real, they would without a doubt be gay.
Now we're gonna tune into my special guest, Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld, tell me about the seals.
The seals! Right now, Alex, they're crazy! They don't exist! You ever see one in real life? I never have!
Apparently they're working for the Navy.
That one definitely won't work on stage, man. I gotta be honest with you.
We could make it work.
It's good for like one-on-one conversation.
No, we could do a two-person bit.
No, I make a lot of jokes whenever I'm just talking to people one-on-one, and I'm like, I know that would never work on stage. Especially a lot of jokes I make are ironic jokes, where I'll say something that's like super fucked up, but I'm saying it ironically.
Yeah.
Just like when people are like, I don't know, I was criticizing something some people said, and my response was like, if you think Hitler is wrong, you've clearly never met a Jew. And I said that to one of my best friends who's Jewish just to see what he would do, and he laughed his fucking ass off. But I was like, that would never work on stage. Just to come up on stage and be like, how's everybody doing at this nursing home? Listen up here.
I have a theory. I said this in my last podcast, that Hitler and Anne Frank were working together. to bring up her book sales. I think that's really what. I think it was all a plot to get her that money.
It makes me think of that story that Bert Kreischer was doing on This Is Not Happening, where he didn't know the difference between Anne Frank and Helen Keller.
And Helen Keller, yeah.
Yeah, so he's at the Anne Frank house with his friends going like, oh, guys, look, this is where she burned her hand in the kitchen. What do you mean? Yeah, she was trying to read the stove. And they're like, yeah, did you know she had a dog? What, Anne Frank had a dog? And he goes, yeah, but the dog ran away. What? The dog ran away? And he goes, well, yeah, you would run away too if your name was...
That's actually like a common thing. I've heard multiple people mix up Anne Frank.
I've done it a lot. I think it's just because there's so many like childish jokes made about both of them that they just kind of blend in with the way our mind thinks.
Yeah, I haven't heard that many Anne Frank jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think as we get older, it's kind of harder to make Anne Frank jokes without getting a little sad.
Yeah, I've just heard people say Anne Frankly, like put that in a sentence. But
I've never heard that in my entire life.
They're like, the Holocaust was bad, and frankly, it's like the punchline, but I don't remember how it ends.
I've never heard that.
Oh,
That's actually really clever. I like that. I like a lot of puns.
Puns are fun.
Or jokes that really catch people off guard. I mean, you've seen that with the way I write a lot of my material for stand-up. I write a lot of jokes where it's set up, punchline, but I like creating setups that are so different from the punchline that it just completely catches them off guard.
That's always fun, is just being absurd.
Yeah.
And coming from, like, setting it up to where they think they can guess where you're going, they can try to predict it, and then you just throw in a curveball.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom!
That's why I like telling that joke about how I spit in a cop's face.
Yeah.
That one really catches people off guard.
And that joke about 5 inches is funny. That's hilarious.
One about 5 inches.
Yeah.
Oh, the one I did?
About your dick?
Oh, yeah, where I was like,
yeah.
You guys can make fun of my penis, all 5.3 inches of it, and I understand. Some ladies don't like penises that wide. But... you know what my favorite joke of yours is, though? All-time favorite joke you've ever done? And
Shit
I wish
the bed?
No, the one I wish you would do more is I was about to say Anne Frank, because it's still in my head.
Anne Frank for sure.
Well, I was going to say the Amber Alert joke. I love the Amber Alert joke so much.
I'm actually going to do that one at the next show, because I thought of a good way to follow it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I tweeted out something about escape rooms, about how women love escape rooms. But when I lock them in my trunk, it's a problem. So that's pretty much, it's going to coincide with the
That's
Amber
actually
Alerts.
really clever. I like that.
Sometimes I just tweet out like joke premises on Twitter just to see how they do.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
All right, you got bigger balls than me, man. I'm not a good social media personality. A lot of the times when I'm about to post something, I'm just like, you're a fucking douche, and then I delete it.
That's how I always was. Like, I hate, like, when I change my profile pic on Facebook, I hate seeing how many people liked it.
I hate that Facebook makes a big spectacle out of it.
Yeah.
So they're just like, everybody look at this. He changed his profile pic. Like, even the people who you're friends with, even your best friends can be like, who gives a fuck?
And I'm like...
What's the deal with profile pics?
I'm so self-conscious that even when I, like, put something on Instagram, I just, like, turn off my notifications and put my phone down. I don't check Instagram for, like, 2 days because I don't want to know how it did.
I do that a lot. And a lot of it, I wouldn't go as far to say for me that it's, I guess, self-consciousness as it is more just being my own worst critic for stuff. Where I just criticize.
For sure, that too.
Because even whenever I do my sets and I get off the stage, I'm always like, oh man, you bombed half that set, or just that set bombed. And then I go and look at the recording of that set, and I was like, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. I did fine. Yeah, like at the Tease Bar show, whenever I got off stage, I kept going like, oh, I fucking bombed it. I did horrible. And then when I looked at my recordings, I was like, I did just fine.
We all had good sets. I think like just after Kevin went up, the energy, it was hard to get the energy back up.
Yeah.
That was tough. But
I was scared about poking fun at Kevin. I didn't really think that joke was going to go well.
That's funny. I called him I already forgot what I was going to say.
He said he was like a mix between The Rock and somebody.
And Kevin Hart. No, I forgot. I called him the boulder that chased Indiana Jones. That's what it was.
That's so good.
And that landed pretty well.
Roasting's always funny in any stand-up special or any stand-up routine.
And it's always great when you're hosting because you have time to okay, here's what I'm going to say about this. Or you can like, when someone says a joke that's similar to something you have, similar topic, be like, weave it in. Speaking of.
So yeah, that's what I was, when you had asked me to host at Drunken Oyster before.
Yeah.
That bullshit. I was writing different jokes to work in between you guys since, a lot of you guys do similar humor. Like I was going to, for Logan, I was going to say something like, hey, I didn't mean to give you chlamydia, man. Sorry.
Yeah, that was funny when you did that at House Bar. Were you at the last House Bar?
No, I wasn't able to make it, man.
These
next 2 weeks, I'm going to be off the radar because of finals.
I feel that. But we had this older couple at House Bar, and every time someone would say anything, like they would just answer, like you're setting up a joke, and then you're like, and so I had crackers the other day, and then she'd be like, I love crackers, like just like throwing every comic off.
I've had that happen before. It's crazy.
It's the word. Like I was setting up a premise once about you guys never had an alcoholic father, and the joke was leading to I didn't have a dad, but the guy immediately after I said that, he goes, no, I didn't have a dad, and I was like, well, fuck, there goes my whole setup. But
that happened to me at the first House Bar show when I was joking about passing stones. I was like, passing stone sucks. Passing stone sucks. Am I right? Am I right? And this lady went into like a story about how she passed kidney stones as I'm in the middle of it, and I forgot the punchline. And I was like, fuck. Now I'm just like having a conversation with this lady about passing kidney stones, and I was like, wait, was it? And then I was like, oh yeah. Oh, I didn't mean kidney stones. I meant passing the tonsil stones. Huck. Still hurts to pee though.
No, but anyway, that couple at the House Bar, they were just being loud the whole time, and I could tell it was like messing with all the comedians. And then I went up there, and then I just insulted them for like 10 minutes straight, and we had so much fun. It was great. And then the guy that was talking mad shit the whole time, we actually gave him the mic and let him go up, and then we yelled at him as he was telling his jokes.
Oh wow!
And then we roasted him at the end. So
nice.
It ended up being great.
I remember the first House Bar show I was at with you guys, and there were those people that just kept talking in the back, and they kept fucking with like 2 or 3 comedian sets. They just kept talking. Somebody, I think it was it Colin that was just like, "Can y'all shut the fuck up?"
They ruined my whole set, but I mean that was actually on me because I didn't do the crowd work that I should have. So that's why I made a point to do it. I'm gonna start focusing on it a lot harder.
For a lot of my crowd work, I don't focus too hard on planning it because I feel like when I plan a lot of stuff, especially with crowd work, it doesn't come off so natural. It feels scripted when I say it.
Well, it has to be spur of the moment.
Yeah. So a lot of my crowd work, I try to improv, and for a lot of the times, it works. It works out just fine.
For the longest time, I was terrified to do crowd work because I thought I would forget my material if I go into the crowd. But I mean, it takes a certain level of like confidence and comfortableness.
Yeah. Yeah, I never did crowd work when I started, and then I think I started about 2 months ago doing crowd work, and then it just it increased my confidence in doing it much more.
And if the crowd's not listening, you pretty much have to do crowd work.
Yeah, that's what happened when I was at T's Bar, because I was in the middle of a joke and I realized everybody in the bar's talking and nobody's listening to me, and then I roasted Kevin and I got everybody's attention back on me.
That's how it works, man. That's how it works. And then Whiskey River was crazy because this new dude, he was actually, you've probably seen him around. What's his name? His name's Fredo. Shout out to Fredo. But he's always gone to our shows, but he's never like performed. And finally, we got him on stage.
Oh.
And pretty much everyone had a bad set that night because like nobody was paying attention to us. And then he started going in. It was his first time ever on stage, and he just started like insulting, like all these guys playing pool because there's a pool league there.
Yeah, there always is.
And he was like, "Whose girl is this?" And he was talking about how he loved fat girls and how he wanted to take her home. And how he loves girls that have front and back titties. And then
front and back.
And then her boyfriend ended up being the scariest dude on the fucking
shit.
planet. So he was like, I'm gonna mess you up. And he like got all pissed off. And then it eventually led to like 20 minutes after his set, the guy rushed him and tried to fight him and broke a table, and then we finally got it taken care of. But dude Fredo killed. His set was so good.
Good for him.
And it was pretty much just all crowd work.
Now, I remember when you were at, I think it was the time before last at Whiskey River, and you made some sort of Cosby joke, and then some guy down at the floor was like, hey.
He was like, be careful.
And for a second, I was like, wait, is he like trying to warn you, like for the sake of you, trying to protect you, or is he like offended that you made fun of Bill Cosby? How dare you, sir?
It's funny. I called him Bill Cosby's son immediately after that. That's cool. I mean,
Huxtable Jr., am I right?
If somebody wants to fight me over a joke, that's fantastic. I think I did a great job.
I've only been confronted about a joke once, and it was after my first time doing stand-up ever. And I think I told you this story. Before I even went to 806, before I was even getting noticed by you jerk-offs.
I don't know if you told me.
The first time I did stand-up was at an open mic on the campus of West Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah. In a library, right?
It was in a library, in this little back room where they had all these portraits of like prestigious WT officials, and I was sitting there going, so AIDS is a little goofy. And I was doing this joke about how everybody goes to anything for free food. And so I was like, people end up, everywhere for free food. That's how a lot of people get, close together on stuff.
That's how I ended up at that alt-right rally.
Yeah, and I was like, why do you think Kirstie Alley's so fat? It's not because of Scientology. And then I was like, let's be honest, have you ever seen any skinny Jehovah's Witnesses come at your door? Right? I need to actually go back and use that joke again. But I was saying that, and then these two girls came to me after that set and was like, we're Jehovah's Witnesses, and we found what you said not be very funny. And I mean, I hadn't developed the confidence I have now as a comedian, so I was like, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm just trying to make people laugh. Have a good day. No bad will towards you.
Well, give me a brochure, and we'll talk about it.
Give me a brochure about your religion, about Xenu or whatever. Cthulhu.
When's your birthday? They don't celebrate. Do they know when they were born?
I have no idea. Best joke I heard about that was Whitest Kid You Know, but they were joking about Mormons. And it was like, Timothy, you were celebrating your 10th birthday. And he's like, oh, that's wonderful. And then he's dancing to himself in his room, and he's like, it's my birthday. It only comes every 2 years. So it's a 20-year-old guy in a house.
That's hilarious.
But that whole set in that library was awful.
I mean, that happens. I did something similar for WT. You know those the campus evolutions?
Yeah.
They had an apartment complex that opened up, I guess like less than a year ago, called Legends. They took the name. But at that complex, they were like, it was some WT organization, like, we're hosting an open mic and everyone can come eat. And then no one ended up going to the open mic, really.
Oh my God.
Not to perform. There were probably like 10 people there just chilling. And my friend who does music, he opened up for me, and then I did jokes. And it went all right, but it was kind of like just like standing in a living room. Just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
that's how I felt. I was standing in the living room, and it was just a bunch of people who were just, again, they were there for the free food. So that's kind of what I was poking fun at. I was like, everybody's here for the free food. You're not here to laugh. Get the fuck out of here. And then the worst part about that, though, and I definitely did not tell you this if I had already told you the story, was that after I had already gone up, and actually went up a second time because everybody was too awkward to go up and try something else. So I was doing like Mad Lib reads with people. So I was like, give me this and give me a name
That's
here.
awesome. That's
a Facebook of ideas. And somebody said tampon. I was like, you know what that guy said about Facebook? Fuck that. That's Google right there. And so I was doing that so I could improv my comedy as I was going. And then I didn't find out until I had already sat back down that there was no speaker system in there and the microphone didn't even work. And the lady who was hosting it was like, well, it's just so you guys get the feeling of holding a microphone. And I was like, but you're telling me like the three,
stupid.
yeah, I was like, you're telling me that you gave us a microphone. Why don't we just stand in front of a room and people and talk? A lot of people did it without microphones.
Honestly, there's been a couple times at the 806 where they didn't have the mic like set up, and because the cord was messed up or whatever, some technical difficulty.
God damn it, Thomas.
So yeah, you just had to stand against the wall and just project yourself. And honestly, it went really well both times. Like
Wait, does Thomas listen to this podcast?
That would be awkward. Yeah, he's listened before. Shout out to Thomas.
Shout out to Thomas.
Shout out to Thomas. Can you do a Thomas impression? Because I was working on one on Skylar's podcast and I couldn't do it.
I'll go for an attempt. Give me a second. So take it that you've never been to an open mic before. This is the rules. No sexism, racism, or homophobia of any kind. Just be good people and all around we'll love you.
That intensity is great. That intensity's on point.
I love doing impressions. I used to do a lot of impressions when I was studying comedy for a few years. And I thought I was going to be able to do impressionists and voice acting. And then my voice dropped. And then I was like, you know what? Not many people, I think if many people have heard enough Heath Ledger impressions. I don't think they need that in their new comedy cartoon.
I've never heard a Heath Ledger impression.
Never heard a Heath Ledger impression?
You mean like the Joker?
No, it's like him overdosing. Just
Oh, that was good.
I am going to hell.
I was shooketh.
Nah, I don't know. I feel like if I was going to do any Joker impressions, I'd probably do Mark Hamill's. Because he's the best in my opinion.
I don't even know who Mark Hamill is.
He was Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
He was the Joker?
Yeah, for 20 years. He did it for the Batman animated series, and then he did mocap for the Arkham series.
The really high-pitched one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that voice.
New Joker movie looks really good. Joaquin Phoenix looks like he's going to crush it.
Have they made a trailer yet?
No, they've just seen enough set videos.
I've seen shots of the set and everything.
I like it. He actually looks like a clown. Definitely looks better than Jared Leto, who looked like definitely. A meth head that was covered in makeup.
I wasn't big on the whole Suicide Squad thing.
I liked certain elements of it. My biggest problem with it was the casting.
Mm.
Because the only good casting part was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I was pissed that they had Will Smith as
She's
Deadshot.
hot.
They could have gone with somebody way better as Deadshot.
Smoky lady.
I feel like if you're going to have Will
Foxy.
Smith play any DC villain, have him be Black Manta.
I don't even know who that is, but yeah, of course.
You'll see him in Aquaman.
Have him be Uncle Phil. I'm not going to watch Aquaman. Aquaman looks hella corny.
That's kind of the point of superhero movies, man. You got to see the corniness.
What bothered me about Suicide Squad is there was a scene where he was like, kill Harley Quinn and I'll give you your freedom or whatever. I don't remember what the deal was. And all of a sudden, this guy develops a heart. He's like, you killed like 10,000 people?
Yeah.
He's like, no, Harley Quinn, no, I can't shoot her. Like,
She's just a little bit crazy.
and then,
Crazy right into my heart, I'll tell you what.
And
I
I
don't know why he's
wasn't,
white.
yeah, the enemy, the boss, the bad guy wasn't compelling enough.
Oh,
you know?
Enchantress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a horseshit villain.
That's really, like, if the villain's not good, it ruins the whole thing.
Well, the problem with a movie like that is you have to make the villains the protagonists, which is really rough for Suicide Squad. I mean, it took a while for the comics before they got it really off the ground and people started loving it. I mean, the way they do it now is perfect, to where they don't really have necessarily a villain they go after a lot, as it is more of just ops missions that go in. And what's cool about it, too, is that they never had, like, the military, babysitting them as they went along. They would just have Deadshot be the guy in charge, and then they'd say, all right, we're dropping you all in. And then go and get it done. And then Deadshot would be like the only one that had the information as to what the operation was really about.
Damn. Yeah, that'd be more interesting.
They could write a lot. I think James Gunn's going to do a good job with the second movie.
Oh, they are doing a second one. I wasn't sure.
They're saying James Gunn's going to do it, write it, and direct it.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that was the reason I didn't like the Fantastic Four movies. It was like the enemy wasn't interesting.
Oh, Dr. Doom?
Yeah, it was just, And then it's like 4 people are tagging up on this one dude. Like, you guys are kind of bitches.
Yeah. Well, they did it right for the new Avengers one, where they were having everybody fight Thanos.
So
But
I still haven't watched it.
they divvied it up into like certain teams.
I
So,
watched
like,
the
teams
Hulk
of
get
5.
punked.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was a good scene.
The Hulk got fucking rocked. For a second, I thought Joe Rogan was playing Thanos. I was like, holy shit.
You ever get so fucked up you never get mad again? He knocked him into peacefulness.
Pretty much. Yeah, that was the only time you saw the Hulk in that movie. For the rest of the movie, he refuses to turn into the Hulk.
That's so funny.
That's actually really cool.
And bitch move, Hulk.
Yeah, they kind of threw Hulk away at the very beginning of the movie.
What kind of sucks, though, is they're going to bring back, like he snapped and killed a third of the world. Is that what it was? Half. He killed half the world. But like all the superheroes that died are going to magically reappear.
Well, some of the ones that died in it are definitely, they said some of the ones are definitely staying dead. Like, do you mind if I spoil it? I mean, the movie's been out for
Spoil
months.
it, man. I don't give a shit.
Loki's definitely dead. Because he died before the snap happened. So did Gamora.
Oh, Gamora's definitely dead?
Yeah. Uncle Ben's definitely dead.
Fuck.
Wish the times. That'd be funny if they brought back Spider-Man and he's just like, oh, thank you so much for bringing me back to life. Did you get Uncle Ben? Who? Fuck. God damn it.
Uncle Ben.
I
cried when Uncle Ben died.
Yeah, I cried when I saw the original one, the Sam Raimi one. And I don't know, I signed the petition they have out now that Tobey Maguire should play Uncle Ben.
That's a weird
In
petition.
the flashbacks. I signed it because, what's her name? Aunt May's super young now. They could have.
Is she?
Yeah,
See,
Marissa Tomei plays her.
I haven't watched the Holland. Is it Tom Holland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched those ones.
His Spider-Man movie was one of the best, if not the best.
I like that they made a relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man. Was that in the comics?
A little bit. It depends on the comic.
Because I find that dynamic interesting.
I always found the dynamic between Iron Man and Captain America interesting. That's why I found Civil War so much of a bummer. I didn't feel like they went in depth enough with it. That's why I think, unpopular opinion, that's why I think Batman versus Superman was the superior movie compared to those two. Just because they felt like they really went into the dichotomy between
Batman
those two.
versus Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that sucked about that one is, like, I like the darkness.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it. 'Cause
I love Zack Snyder's darkness, though.
They were like, Batman should never kill. And in my head, I've always been like, why doesn't Batman fucking just start murking people?
Yeah. Well, I always saw it as a character development point for when you're writing characters. Because, like, if I'm going to go see a Batman movie, I don't want to see the same Batman I've already seen with Tim Burton's version.
That's a good point.
Or Christopher Nolan's version,
Yeah.
or even Adam West's version. And I thought it was beautiful writing just because they ended with him deciding not to kill anymore. So it was showing Batman in a dark place. Then they showed Superman in a dark place by not trusting how humans accepted him. Then they had Wonder Woman in a dark place because she didn't have a good relationship with humans
Wonder
herself.
Woman's fine.
And then they ended it with them wanting to form the Justice League, and then by the end, they all fitted into like what we see in like the Justice League animated cartoons, where they're good friends and everybody, it's fun superhero stuff. And so I felt like it was a good build-up I felt the darkness was necessary to kind of prove that, it's a message about friendship. It's that these people were really awful by themselves as individuals, but what brought them together made them who we recognize them to be.
Got real deep into that. I like that.
I get deep with a lot of movies. That's what I did with my Ballad of Buster
Balls
Scruggs.
deep, some would say.
Oh, yes, very much. Bat balls deep.
But no, the part where he was like, your mom's name is Mary or something like that. Martha? My mom's name's Martha. I guess I won't stab you in the neck with this.
I like that scene. I'll defend that scene till the day I die.
Defend it.
You want to hear my argument? Okay. So we're going to go this little pieces at a time because they kind of have to. It's not an easy scene to defend. The way I saw it when I first watched it was that right when he came up to him with the giant kryptonite spike and was like, you're not a god, you were never even a man, and was getting ready to stab him, Superman's last words when he's about to stab him is, save Martha. And so that completely has to stop Batman in his tracks because Batman's always going after people that he believes are without hope or without any sort of without a conscience. Yeah. So he goes after people like Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, all these people that would never say anything like save another person as their last breath. So that makes you hesitate when you're about to kill somebody. And then the name Martha clicks in his head. So of course anybody's gonna think like if if somebody said my dad's name, if somebody said, hey, save Russell, I would have been like, well, why did you say that name? Because then how the hell is he supposed to know he's Bruce Wayne?
Russell Peters.
Yeah. So how's that supposed to stick in his head? So it makes him freak out and go, why did you say that name? And then Lois Lane steps in front of the blade and top of Superman and says, that's his mother's name. So then he has to take two more things into account as he's thinking of it. A human just dived in front of this man.
Which means he gets bitches.
But it means the humans are capable of actually loving him, which is something that somebody who's totally evil is not capable of receiving. Yeah. And then it realizes that he has a mother, too. Which is when you think of somebody's pure evil, you never think of somebody who has a mother.
That's true.
Or think of somebody who loves their mother so much that they want them to be saved.
I never thought that deep about it. But
and then when he steps back,
you dehumanized him.
And then when you step back, you see Ben Affleck, like his eyes rapidly moving in different directions in the frame. And when you see that, it's him being the world's greatest detective. And him going, wait, why was I finding this guy anyway? Wait, what the fuck? And then he puts it all together. And once he realizes it's Lex Luthor, he throws the thing away. And he's like, and that's why he's more invested because he's like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I shouldn't have been killing people. I shouldn't have tried to kill this guy. What the hell am I doing? And so whenever he's like, this person has a Martha too. My point of being Batman is to try to save a Martha that other people couldn't save. So how about this? I'm going to go save your Martha.
I like that.
Thank you very much.
I like that a lot. That got deep. I like that argument, but at the same time,
you stick with your argument.
In my heart, my passion, what I want is I want an evil Batman. I want a savage who doesn't give a fuck, who will slit throats.
They've done an evil Superman before.
And snort cocaine.
I'll tell you my favorite Superman story arc and my favorite Superman versus Batman fight was this comic called Red Sun. And it was this comic where in an alternate universe, the ship from Krypton left like 15 seconds late. And due to the Earth's rotation, instead of Superman landing in America, he landed in communist Russia. So Superman's brought up to be this communist icon.
Of course we did that. That's funny as shit.
And so
then he fights Rocky.
No, he fights Batman though.
And
Batman,
the Mighty Ducks.
Yes, the Mighty Ducks. And Creed. And so he gets into this fight with Batman, who also turns out, due to the way the universe works, Batman is also Russian, and it's not Bruce Wayne anymore. And
my parents were killed in Serbia.
Lex Luthor's president of the United States still, and then Lois Lane is his first lady. It was one of the coolest defeats of Superman, though, because...
damn, Lex Luthor stole yo ho.
Yeah. Lex Luthor spends the whole comic trying to use, like, Metallo or an American version of Superman, which is just Bizarro, and all of this physical stuff.
That's what I was thinking of. Bizarro's the evil Superman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he uses all this stuff to try to beat Superman, and it doesn't work. And then he ends up writing a letter to Superman and puts it in Lois Lane's jacket and has Superman read it with the X-ray, and he beats him like that, completely destroys him. I'm not going to say what the letter said because I really think people should read the comic. It's phenomenal.
Who destroys who?
Lex Luthor destroys Superman.
Really?
Completely defeats him.
Really?
Emotionally defeats him, pretty much. Gets into his head. And then Batman beats him physically. Doesn't even need kryptonite.
That's interesting. I like that.
I'm a huge comic book fanatic, as you can also see.
That's awesome. See, the thing about Superman is that I've never liked about Superman is his giant array of powers. You know, he has like 15 powers, like heat vision, X-ray, freeze breath.
Those are the only ones those are just the ones they kept around though. He had so many different other superpowers that they just got rid of over time.
Yeah, it's like you're so
Like
good that it's not even fun to watch.
like-
you know, it's
like,
like watching the New England Patriots. I don't want to fucking watch y'all win every fucking Super Bowl.
Early on in the comics, he used to have this ability where he would throw out little Supermen
Mm-hmm.
out of his hand. He could just like spawn Superman out of his hand and throw it at people. So he was like Cell from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but then that would cause a Me Too movement itself.
Oh yeah,
It's like
definitely.
ejaculating on people.
We're just crawling inside women's pussies because they're a little teeny. Superman was inside me, literally.
His kids landed on my face. Now I'm gay.
No, I'm gay. Now I'm gonna have little Superman kids. And I have to give birth to my baby and the little Superman who's still stuck up there.
He throws little Supermen out.
Yeah.
How high were they when they came up with that power?
I don't know. Probably as high as they were when they came up with the cellophane S, which was another one that was weird that they just did in the movie, one of the earlier movies, and then they got rid of it. The cellophane S was so stupid.
What does that mean? What's a cellophane S?
It's whenever he would just throw out his hand like in a gesture, and then whenever he'd throw it out, just like this little like cape shaped like an S that looked like a hologram would wrap around somebody, put him to the ground.
Oh yeah, that's corny.
And then it would just disappear. Just put him on the ground for like 2 seconds. And they're like, wait, what the fuck? I can't remember which Superman movie it is, but it's one of the ones with Christopher Reeve.
He got paralyzed.
George Reeves died.
What did you think?
Which is funny because that means Ben Affleck played both Batman and Superman because he did that biopic movie about George Reeves.
Wait, Ben Affleck played Superman?
Yeah, he was playing this biopic movie where it was about George Reeves before he died.
Is biopic how you pronounce that? Because I've always said biopic when I read
I
it.
never cared. But it was that movie about him when he played Superman, so he'd play George Reeves playing Superman at his special appearances or when he was on TV. So he got to play Batman and Superman. But it's also funny because his wife in that movie was played by Diane Lane, who's Martha Kent in Batman vs. Superman. So not only was he also playing Superman, he was banging Superman's mom.
Holy shit, Ben Affleck. You are a god.
Amongst men.
Have you seen Ben Affleck since that movie? Like, he definitely roided up for that shit. Like,
He had this weird sort of thing when he was first Batman in these movies where he had like fat ripped. You ever see that where he had like a belly, but at the end of the belly there was a six pack?
Yeah.
And then by the time he got to Justice League, it was much more toned and brought in. But the first time I saw him in the trailers and the scenes, I was like, is Batman supposed to be fat? Like, he looks like Night Owl. What the fuck is going on here?
Well, you're not supposed to build that much muscle, in your 40s.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just like, the dude is jacked. And then immediately after the movie, it was like, oh, he's back to normal. Like,
It's pretty much like Mac and Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's like, I
Yeah.
gained and lost 100 pounds in 6 months. And they're like, wow.
That shit was real, though. That
Yeah,
was incredible.
that was real. He's
And-
still ripped right now.
Yeah, I haven't even seen. Have you watched the new season?
Yeah, all the way through.
It's not on Hulu. Why does Hulu take so long to put shit on?
I don't know. It took him forever to put Fargo season 3 on.
Yeah, Atlanta season 2 still isn't on Hulu. I mean, it wasn't last time I checked.
Haven't even started Atlanta. Is it good?
It's fucking phenomenal.
I'll tell you what I got back into watching this week, and now I'm done with the first season. I went onto Netflix and watched Ash versus the Evil Dead. And that show, it's not as good as the other movies in the franchise, but it's definitely a fun, solid show to
Does
watch.
it have the same like lead role guy?
Bruce Campbell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
He still plays Ash Williams. And I don't know. It's fun to watch on an episode by episode basis, but when you get further along in the season, that's when you start to recognize, oh, this franchise is better when it's just movies than it is to put into an actual show.
That happens. That
Yeah.
happens. Like I was watching that. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called I'm Dying Up Here. It was on Showtime.
I heard about it. I never watched
It only lasted 2 seasons, but it was all about the Comedy Store, and I follow a lot of comedians, so I hear about the Comedy Store like every day.
Yeah.
And so I was like super into it. But it was directed by Jim Carrey, so it was pretty dark.
Of course.
Yeah, a lot of death and
Which
stuff.
is very ironic for Jim Carrey.
He's a dark guy.
Yeah, it's weird how he goes between like being super funny to being super dark.
He's got some skeletons in his closet for sure.
Yeah,
But
like
no,
he'll go between being the Mask
Mm-hmm.
to playing Andy Kaufman, or he'll go from playing the guy in Liar Liar to playing Cable Guy.
And now he's just drawing portraits of Trump.
He's drawing portraits of Trump, buying Nike shoes, talking about I heard he talked about socialism. I don't know what he was saying.
It was on Bill Maher. I saw that.
Only thing I saw from him when Bill Maher was like, I bought me a pair of Nikes, and I was like, oh, congratulations, you're a political icon because you bought a pair of Nike shoes.
I disagree with Bill Maher on a lot of things, but like I respect him a lot because he's not afraid to call out bullshit.
Yeah, I respected him a lot, but I definitely disagreed with that stuff he said about Stan Lee a few weeks ago.
No, see, I haven't
He was saying
listened to
that he was pretty much saying like Stan Lee made no impact and that
Really?
or he said like the only thing he was good for was inspiring people to go to the movies.
And he was saying it with like smug sarcasm.
Well, it was written,
Oh,
so you have to read it as if he's saying it was smug
yeah.
sarcasm.
Because he gets in that like pompous tone.
Yeah.
It's just like Stan Lee.
Yeah, Stan Lee.
Stan Lee doesn't love you. Okay.
That doesn't sound like Bill Maher at all. You need to work on that next. Do a Bill Maher impression.
I'll work on Bill Maher.
What impression should I do next?
Bill Maher. Do you Bill Maher?
Wait, we do both Bill Maher?
Mm-hmm.
We should do Bill Maher.
Let's have a impression off.
Oh, let's do Bill Maher versus Bill Burr. You see, this is why you're wrong. Stop being a moron! I don't know why I went to Jerry Seinfeld, but that's just the only impression I can stick
it's
with.
brutal. Fucking brutal out here.
It's fucking brutal out here.
Been doing comedy since I was 19 in Boston.
Quit acting like a fucking cunt. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny. F is for Family. Have you gotten into that show?
Midway through season 2 right now.
Nice. I was trying to watch it, but then I was like, I saw Bumpin' Mike's was on, so I went to that. Have you watched Bumpin' Mike's?
No, it's on my list.
That shit's funny. I watched the first episode. Super funny.
My favorite thing Jeff Ross has ever done is when he was roasting inmates in prisons.
That was hilarious. And he actually went to the border like when Trump got elected and was roasting immigrants. And that shit was so fucking hilarious.
It's just
That's funny because it's like he mastered being a
definitely
roasting.
He's the king of roasting in my opinion.
He made it. He found one thing and made it his niche.
Well, plus he's also one of those comedians that proves that there really is no limit to comedy because he can just go anywhere. And I was surprised too. I was surprised at how well the prison inmates took the roasting. I mean, I never saw the immigrant thing, but I can't imagine they were very happy about it.
Well, I feel like because I've seen like comedians do it. Ali Sadiq did a whole special inside a prison.
I love Ali Sadiq.
And I think like prisoners, they're stuck in this environment where they can't ever show weakness or humility or shame or anything.
Yeah.
So then they finally get a chance to just sit down and just laugh.
Yeah.
And they're probably missing that. They probably haven't laughed in 8 years,
Yeah.
And they definitely have a sick sense of humor.
Yeah, they definitely do. I haven't laughed since the last time Big T raped me in my butthole. No, I think inmates probably have that psychology that happens with a lot of comedy, especially comedians who are really good at it, especially like the sick stuff, is that they're able to look at the situation they're in and they're like, my shit's so fucked up, I have no other route to take but to laugh at it.
Yeah.
And that's why I do a lot of sick stuff in my humor, is I'm always like, well, if we just sit down and just mope about it all the time, then we're just going to sit and mope. The only thing left to do is just laugh about
100%. Like people are screaming about Trump. Like just,
yeah.
It's a joke. Like if anything, he just proved that our whole government system doesn't work and it's a piece of garbage. Like just enjoy life.
That's what makes politics really hard for me because I'm very middle of the road. I can't pick a side.
Yeah.
And
picking sides is terrible.
Yes,
it's toxic.
Terrible. And I can't pick a side, or I can't really decide on which one would affiliate with me more. None of them really are accurate to me.
Yeah, not at all.
And what makes me so mad about it is they're always so angry about something, or they always make it about the exact opposite, or the extreme critical of their other end. So whenever you talk to somebody who's very, very much on the left side, they'll be like, hey, so you support the left? And it's like, well, no, not entirely. No, they're like, oh, I didn't know you were a fucking Nazi. I was like, well, hold on a fucking second. I didn't say I was the Nazi. And then you go to the right and they're like, hey, do you support the Second Amendment? I'm like, yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, definitely some things should be investigated, of course. I mean, legislation's always an option. And then he was like, I didn't know you were a freedom-hating, towel-head, troop-hating motherfucker. And I was like, why? I just, I think that, especially with social media, I don't express my opinions a lot.
That's how it goes, man. And if you on social media, if you take a stance on something, like if you take a stance on like abortion or immigration, someone will come out and be like, oh, well, fucking, they'll bring up a whole random topic, like you must support that too. And it's like, no, I can pick and choose which ones I care about, and it doesn't. I don't have to fucking agree with everything or disagree with everything.
I find it just to be a bunch of hypocrite talk between the both of them. Like the one thing I've noticed now,
like, oh, you voted for Ted Cruz, you hate women.
Yeah,
like,
that's bullshit. I don't know. I always think it's funny because I see it on both sides. So I'll see like the people on the right going like, well, watch this, we're gonna say this word just to piss off the liberals, watch this. And then I'm always like, really Republicans, if we really wanted to piss you off, all we have to do is come and say happy holidays and watch you go
yeah. And they're always talking about liberal snowflakes, and then Colin Kaepernick is the sponsor for Nike, and they're like, oh, we have to burn all our Nikes.
That Nike thing, it didn't piss me off, but I just found it annoying on both ends.
Yeah.
Whereas like they both made a bigger deal than it really was, because the right was like, it's gonna, it's them trying to go against, the modern American thing. I'm like, can you relax? It's a Nike ad. And then for the other people on the left who were saying, it's a huge stance for the social movement, I'm like, if you think for a second that Nike gives a shit
Nike doesn't give a fuck.
Nike doesn't give a fuck. That's the same company who has the kids out in China or whatever making their shoes.
Exactly.
That's what I think too. Like with Jim Carrey, look, I bought a pair of Nikes. They made the right choice. And then I was like, yeah, applaud the fact that they made an ad that made a lot of money for them. Ignore the fact that they have kids making the shoes.
Yeah. What's up with Nikes?
What's the deal with Nikes?
They don't even feel comfortable.
Just do it. I say just don't do it.
Oh, classic. But yeah, everyone, I love how everyone who had nothing to do with the NFL suddenly is a huge proponent of one or the other. It's just like, you didn't know about this when it was happening. But
same thing went for me with kneeling during the national anthem bit, where people were like, it's un-American. I'm like, they're not pissing on the flag.
Like, how many games have you watched in the past 5 years?
How many games have you watched? And plus, it's like, who's going to die due to a guy kneeing at during a game? Like, calm the fuck down. Sure, I mean, it's not like you don't have the right to disagree. Sure, you can have the right to disagree and just say, I don't quite agree with it. But to get so angry.
Who fucking cares? Like,
the same thing went with the election. That's what made 2016 so hard for me for voting, because every person I was talking to was like, Trump's going to destroy the country. And then people were like, no, Hillary's going to destroy the country. I'm like, I didn't really think that of either of them.
Yeah.
But, I'm not fans of either of those people.
I mean, the system is set up so a president can't destroy the country.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally separation of powers will keep. So all he's really doing is just being his crazy self.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining. I enjoy it. I love his tweets. It's fucking. He went in on like.
I'm having a good laugh about this.
He went in on Rex Tillerson. I think it was Rex Tillerson. I don't know. Someone in his cabinet who he got rid of, and he was like, he was lazy. He was a bum. He was garbage. This new guy's gonna be much better.
This new guy, so much better. You're gonna love him. He's great. I don't know. My favorite thing he ever did was when the Stormy Daniels bit was coming out, where he was like, "She's a horse-faced bitch," and every time he did that, he's like, "She's a horse-face." I'm like, "Bro, you fucked her. You're the one who fucked her. Who are you trying to convince here?
That's hilarious.
You're the one who slept with her."
Honestly, like
that's like if a bitch came to me and was just like, "Hey, guess what? I'm pregnant." I'm like, "I'd never sleep with you, you ugly ass bitch, boy." And then I just start going into a full roast. They're like, "Bro, you're the one who fucked her. Why are you roasting her?"
That's so many guys do that too. Like I've seen like girls take screenshots of like when guys will like slide in their DMs and they'll get rejected and they'll be like, "Oh, what? You're a stupid whore anyway. Fuck you."
Oh, that is one of my favorite guilty pleasures, is going to the nice guy Reddit and seeing all those posts. They're like, "Hey, what you wearing?" And then they're like, "You know what? I just met you on my Instagram DMs. I don't feel comfortable in this conversation. With all due respect, I'm going to block you." And then they're like, "You fucking whore.
Yes.
You wouldn't know a good guy if it came up behind you and raped you with a plunger handle. Now listen here, you bitch." And they always freak out, and it goes crazy.
They do.
That philosophy always astounds me, because it's like, if you're willing to turn on a dime like that on a person you just met, you are not a nice person.
You probably hit women.
Yeah,
like
yeah. I saw one post when I was looking at that Reddit page where some guy was like, all the girls who don't pick nice guys and just go with all the chads and all that, they deserve to get abused. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Again, you're not a nice guy if you wish harm on somebody just because they don't like you. A genuinely nice person can just take rejection and go, "Hey, it's all good. Not everybody's compatible. Compatibility is a hard thing to come by. But hey, have a nice day and move on."
Nice people don't go out of their way to prove they're nice.
Yeah.
They're just nice people.
That comes for any quality. If you feel like you have to say you're nice, you're probably not a nice person. That goes, and I think that all the time whenever I see posts where guys are like, "I'm a funny guy." I'm like, well, you don't have to say if you're a funny guy.
Yeah.
If you're a funny guy, it speaks for
Absolutely.
itself. Just like if you're a trustworthy person, if you're an honest person, if you're loyal, you don't have to say it. It's all speaking in your actions. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Which is why politicians fail all the time.
Exactly. Which is why Trump is so entertaining.
Exactly.
The only difference between Trump and every other president is this guy is telling you when he's lying.
Yeah. You know what? I messed up on that one. That was a total lie. Not going to lie again. Next week. All right, you caught me. You got me on this one. Not going to happen again, I swear.
His inability to like admit fault or ever say sorry is really,
or ever admit that he's not the best at something.
Yeah. He was.
Honestly, it makes it a little bit, from a comedian standpoint at least, it makes it a lot more fun to be politically neutral, because then you can see the comedy
on the planet.
Oh,
really
hands down.
I would go on tour with
Wouldn't
him.
that be something
I'd
if he
open up
was
for him.
if the whole thing was just a ruse for a really good joke? Mm-hmm. Like, it was like, I really like going for the offensive stuff, you know. People, I think even the liberals would be like when they get pranked, they'd be like, "Oh man, you got me, you fucking got me, man. You really had me going."
I cried for 8 years, but that was good.
I cried for 8 years. I put a chastity belt to keep you away from my pussy for 8 years. Man, you really got me.
I hid my maids. I thought you were gonna deport them.
Did you see that thing that Kelly Osbourne said about Trump, that where they were using the Curb Your Enthusiasm meme on?
It was something super racist, right?
Yeah, where she was like, if you deport all of those immigrants, who's gonna clean your toilets? And even the people at the View were like, whoa, that is extremely racist.
The View is such garbage.
I think most morning talk shows are.
Yeah, they really are. But The View, man.
But I mean, we're not the audience for that, though. The Views are for like the housewives.
That's true. But like, even when they're 100% wrong, Joy Behar would just be like, she'll just say something negative about Trump, and the whole crowd's like, woo! Yeah. And then John McCain's daughter is always like, shut up, bitch. Like,
Joy Behar could support eugenics, and then it would just follow it with the Trump insult, and they'd be like, you know what? I think this lady's onto something. I was reading about that. I was reading articles, and there's a lot of people that supported eugenics back in the day.
Yeah, fucking Thomas Edison supported eugenics.
Thomas Edison, Henry Ford.
Henry Ford, too?
Helen Keller, too, I think.
We don't want more of me.
We don't want more of me. Or it's like, but it's also like, bitch, how can you figure out what race is which? It's like that Brandon Rogers video where he's like, this one feels very Mexican. That's just not gonna happen.
Well, could they even really interpret Helen Keller? Like, she said some really racist shit. We're gonna remove that part.
They can interpret Helen Keller. How does
she know what black is? I don't.
Dude,
she says the N-word 34 times. We're gonna go ahead and, let's just get rid of this page.
They're able to interpret Helen Keller. How do you think the whole relationship between Han Solo and Chewbacca works? It's the same language. Helen.
Chewbacca's like a dog that shoots guns, which is what we need to protect our.
I always saw him as a bear. I always saw him as like a bear or Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's more like a Bigfoot, definitely.
For the longest time, I thought the Ewoks were like little baby Wookiees. And then some fucking virgin came up and was like, "You're wrong." I was like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck."
I got most of my Star Wars info from actually watching Spaceballs.
Really?
Yeah. I know more from Spaceballs than I do with any Star Wars movies.
No, I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Because I watched the first 3 as a kid, like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and then I think I watched 4 in the theater. And other than that, like I remember the old ones. I remember them being on, but I was like never fully engaged.
Yeah.
So
Star Wars was a movie I fell in love with as soon as I saw it.
I haven't seen any of the Disney.
Now, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were like my introduction to watching movies, and them amongst other directors is like one of my inspirations for making films.
Nice.
And that's, I mean, back to the politics thing for a second. I mean, that's usually my plan right now for my writing, is that a lot of my political opinions or my philosophies I want to carry on into my films. So that way they're more in a thought out process than they are explicitly said, so people can misinterpret it.
Yeah. I see that. But then I feel like sometimes they get too messagey. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Have you seen what was that? That movie with the rabbit? It's an animated movie for kids, but
Peter
the
Rabbit?
No, it's this rabbit who wants to be a cop. It's a female rabbit.
Oh, Zootopia?
Zootopia.
Yeah, that was supposed to be about race issues.
Yeah, it would have been a great movie if you didn't like push fucking politics on it so hard.
Well, there's an art to it, I think, when it comes to making movies that are covered in subtext. You have to create it in a way where you don't treat the audience like idiots.
Yeah,
you have to create
definitely.
it as subtext, but you also have to acknowledge both sides of an argument while also carrying it on forward. Like, one of my best ones I've ever seen in subtext was No Country for Old Men, which I will be doing an episode on later.
What was the subtext of that?
You see, the thing about...
I love that movie.
You see,
the book.
Oh, yeah. But the subtext about that thing with the Coen brothers that is so great is you can get like 3 different stories out of it. The first one that a lot of people get is the how people fidget with religion and how you kind of waver in it when you're trying to believe in everything that's pure good, but yet you're experiencing something that's pure evil. And how it's kind of hard to believe in the idea of fate when you have random incidences happening. So you have Anton Chigurh flipping the coin and going, "Call it," and doing all that. It's kind of hard to determine something's fate when he's the guy who he's the guy who's flipping the coin. So is he the one who's determining the fate, or is it the luck of the coin determining the fate? And then other times it's about greed as it comes to money, especially on the idea of like an American business world. So if you look at the movie, you see that all the people who are valuing the money in it either end up dead or critically injured.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who are investigating the money, or the people who look at the money from an objective standpoint, are the people who live on, but they also have to reflect on what's going on in there. So they're the ones that are left to decide the philosophy of what's going on, while the people who are searching for the money are only focused on money. That's their philosophy in life.
Holy shit. Was there another one?
Let me think what the third one is. Those are the two main ones I look at when I see the movie.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I do a lot of analysis of movies if anybody wants to listen to that podcast.
Do you like write out like abstracts? Did you ever do that in English class where you would like give an analysis of a poem or a book or anything?
I did a few analysis of books and poems when I had to, but I just couldn't get as analytical with it.
I feel like you would crush that.
I mean, I guess I could do grades, but I mean, what does that mean in the school system?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much as long as you suck the teacher's dick in the writing, just what the point of this poem is that Mr. Richards is a great teacher.
What's up with poems?
I don't get it. Why do you need to rhyme? But I mean, I would analyze stuff okay, but like I said, for me, it's always been movies. That's where I get to analyze, and I want to create movies that people can analyze in their own way, or ways that make people think in different ways. By about maybe next year or the year after, I'm going to have my equipment ready, and I'm going to, just like how we built a comedy scene here in Amarillo, I want to see if I can build a film scene here and start directing films.
Can I ask you about movies and what you think the themes are?
Sure, go ahead. But don't be like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, Donnie Darko. Because I love that movie, and I feel like there's a lot of that movie that goes over my head, like as far as like symbolism and everything.
I think I'd have to rewatch it to give you a full answer. I mean, I think obviously with the way that a lot of the story goes, I think a lot of it's just about schizophrenia, but more about, I guess, maybe the perception of schizophrenia from an outside perspective versus an inside perspective. But again, that one's very on the nose.
Yeah.
So I'd have to rewatch it again in order to really like try to give you a good subtext.
That's one of those movies I love, but when I try to show it to people, they're like, "Oh, this shit's boring." Like they zone out right away.
That's what happens when I show people American Psycho.
Oh, I like
American Psycho is one of my favorite subtext movies of all time. As depressing as it is, I find it to be very inspiring as far as social environments go. And it was one of the things that inspired me to do comedy, believe it or not.
Nice. What about, have you seen A Clockwork Orange?
Not for years and years and years, man. Not my favorite Kubrick movie. It's either going to be...
It's super interesting, though.
Oh, yeah. Every Kubrick movie is to a certain extent. Like I loved
I like the idea.
2001. I loved The Shining.
I like the way... the difference, the stark contrast between like British movies and American movies, like the different themes, like there's like less optimism, I think, in the British culture.
I would agree. But what I love interpreting about movies that are very melancholy and dark is that a lot of them you can build optimistic meanings out of something and use that to influence your life. Kind of like, don't be like this guy, be like this. Like one of my base philosophies is built off the movie Blade Runner. And that a thing I say a lot since I've seen Blade Runner is like one of the greatest gifts I think God has given us is an inherently meaningless life. Because I believe if your life's meaningless, you can determine what's worth of all value, which is the key of free will.
Is that a quote?
Maybe. That's just something I thought of and I say a lot, but maybe I got it from a quote. I have no idea. I can't tell you.
I'm going to have to re-listen to this and write that down. That's interesting. If life is meaningless, say that again.
I think, well, the part about life being meaningless, or the thing I said about God.
If life is meaningless, you can decide.
If life is meaningless, you decide with what's worth of any value.
It's worth of any value. Wow. But then, on the opposite spectrum, I mean, if life is meaningful, I mean, it kind of means the same thing, right?
No, because if life's meaningful, it fits into the thought of the ideas of fate that people believe in, that their life's predetermined and that what they're supposed to do in life's already set. And a lot of people feel unease when they think of fate, which is a common theme in No Country for Old Men, is fate, the idea of randomness, or the idea that things aren't set on a path, scares people. It's something that people are really, really afraid of.
I can see that.
And so when I saw Blade Runner, I was like, wow, if you think about it, when you're trying to put value on your own life or what the value of the human condition is, you can decide, hey, this is something that's of a value to me, just like how religion works. You can say, hey, you know what, the idea of a God puts so much value in me that it gives me purpose and it gives me drive. Or somebody could say the idea of not having a God gives me an idea of a different pathway.
So it works both ways.
The human mind is very, very interesting.
In my own mindset. I think on like a micro scale, life is meaningless, but on like a macro, like over time, I think there's a purpose there. I just don't know what it is. But like I definitely believe that like I mean my decisions every day I have a choice
Yeah.
on how I'm going to end my life. And not like suicidal, but like how I'm going to
Yeah.
live. What
A common thing I've always tried to describe fate, at least my opinion of fate, is like I don't know. Are you a believer?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm a Christian, but that sounded like a flex. I'm a Christian. The way I always viewed the idea
I
of
didn't know
fate.
if you were atheist.
Really?
I feel like most comics are atheists.
That's true though.
Yeah.
But the way I viewed a lot of fate in the eyes of a god was more of the idea of, you know how you read a book that's adapted into a movie, and when you watch that movie, you're like, hey, I know how this book's gonna play out because of how it's already written. That's how I viewed God's idea of fate.
Yeah.
So he knows what we're gonna do or what our choices are, but that in turn creates what fate is. So our purpose and our deciding factor in life is still our own decision.
Exactly.
But God just knows what that decision is already.
I agree with that. And I don't think people can really grasp the concept of God. Like I was listening, I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
He's been on the Rogan podcast several
He
times.
wrote that book, The 12 Rules of Life or something.
I actually have that book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really good. But the way he describes God is like he's like a supreme being, yes, but he's also like an idea. He's also a feeling. He's like in every living thing, you know, like he's in every being, every plant.
Yes.
You know, it's
kind of like the Force.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's his God's imprint is in like DNA. It's like
Yes.
It's more like I think we get this idea of like we put God in a box, and it's like God is like everything, everything that exists, like good and bad, good and evil, yin and yang. Like he created the universe with an equal amount of good as evil.
Which is a good philosophy to have for people that are more on the pessimistic side, is you have to acknowledge that if there can be an absolute evil, there has to be an absolute good.
I agree with that.
The world works on a balancing scale. If there has to be absolute bad, always going to be absolute good, which is something, again, you can interpret when you watch No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh is supposed to represent the manifestation of evil, and he works as like a force of nature. Nobody stops him, or he walks wherever he goes. And when you have somebody who's a manifestation of evil, you have something where the criminal justice system is supposed to represent, or I guess more the sheriff of the story is supposed to represent the opposite side, who's supposed to be the good. But both sides kind of find this point where they intersect with each other and they both affect each other. So it's just this constant yin yang in a circle. So the good acknowledges the bad, but still tries to be good. The bad acknowledges the good, still tries to be bad.
That's very interesting. Nice. No Country for Old Men, man. That's a good. What's the author's name?
Cormac McCarthy. He also wrote The Road.
Yeah. That guy was
Counselor.
That guy was well known for like his style.
Yes, he's a very introspective person. I'll tell you what, Matt. I know I already invited you to be the guest whenever I get 2 mics ready, but I'll save No Country for Old Men for you.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about it on that episode.
I'm gonna watch it 4 more times. Woody Harrelson, he did a good job.
Oh yeah, I don't know why. I thought you said Woody Allen.
No, I actually mix up Woody Allen with Woody Harrelson all the time.
I do.
Like,
I do when I hear it.
Woody Harrelson fucked his like cousin or something. Like
Yeah.
Woody, do you know what
Yeah.
Woody Allen's famous? Like
Yeah.
it's something to do with like incest, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the details.
Used to be his stepdaughter, I think, and then he started fucking her.
Yeah. So
Best quote ever was from Eric Andre when he was interviewing Seth Rogen. He was like, "Hey, do you think Woody Allen should be Chinese castrated so he'll stop jerking off his ex-kids?"
Oh shit. He said that in an interview? Who was he talking to?
Seth Rogen.
Oh, Seth Rogen.
That's when he was interviewing Seth Rogen.
Oh my god.
And then I forgot another one he did. Best one was he was interviewing some singer, and he pulled out a card, and he was like, John Wayne once said, "I will believe in white supremacy until blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. Why did you retweet that?" And she goes, "I did not retweet that." Goes, "Are you sure? Because it says so in my notes." Then he pulls up his notes, and it's a big swastika.
Is that where that gif is from? Where he's like, "Why would you say something so bold? It's so controversial."
That's where he's like, "Why would you say something so controversial yet so bold?"
I love his his take on like anti-comedy.
Yeah, I love absurdist comedy, so it fits right in my alley. Yeah, I love how he fucks with people, but he fucks with people in anything. Like, you ever seen Fuck with Alex Jones?
I haven't.
He went to the Republican National Convention.
Oh, I saw that, but I didn't see any footage or anything.
Oh, you didn't see what he said when he got on the stage?
He did stuff. I didn't know he got on stage.
He came to the stage with his microphone attached to this large pole, trying to wave it in front of the stage where Alex was. And he's like, "I just want an interview with Alex. I just want an interview with Alex." And so Alex Jones thinks he's from The Daily Show. And he goes, "Get that Daily Show guy up here." And then they start pulling him up there, and the people are pushing Eric Andre up on the stage and cursing him out, "Get on that fucking stage!" And he's like, okay. And so he gets up to the stage, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here from the Daily Show?" And he's like, "I'm not from the Daily Show. I'm from MySpace."
From MySpace.
And then he's like, "Oh," and he goes, "Oh no, it's fine." He's like, "The Democrats aren't running, the sleeper cell programs through the government." And he's like, "I'm not a Democrat. I'm a nihilist." And then they're like, "Well, what's going on? You seem very angry." And then he just leans in Alex Jones and goes, "I want you to have sex with my wife." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, I see what's going on here." And they're trying to kick him off the stage. And he's like, no, I'm serious. I want you to have sex with my wife. Here's my hotel key." And he starts handing him the key. And they start pulling him off the stage. And people are cursing at him some more. And he tries to wiggle his way back on stage. And as they're cursing him out, he's like, "I'm just trying to get Zootopia tickets. I'm just trying to get Zootopia tickets." And so they push him out. And then as soon as he's out of the ring, this dude just starts jumping right in front of Eric's face and just starts going, "You're not Martin Luther King. You're not." And starts cursing him out. And then he ends the bit by leaving the crowd, and then he looks at the camera and goes, "Coachella sucks this year."
Oh man, I love that absurdness. That's so funny.
Which is why probably my number 5 in my top 5 movies of this year is going to be Sorry to Bother You. It was great absurdist comedy.
With Lake Keith.
Yeah.
I can't say his name.
I can't either. That's going to suck when I have to record that part of the podcast.
He's super funny. He's actually one of the main characters in Atlanta.
Yeah, I remembered him from Get Out.
He's the funniest character in Atlanta, honestly. Because you think Donald Glover, being a comedian and everything, being a great writer, he'd be like the funny guy.
Yeah.
But he's just like the main character, kind of laid back dude.
A lot of people
and so
who
all
write
the jokes are told by his friend.
A lot of people who write like multi-character comedies always write themselves as the funniest person, because I think Adam Sandler does that. He writes himself to be the funniest person. And also, it's like, honestly, Adam, who wrote the movie? You always end up with the hot wife. Like, come on, Katie Holmes is your wife. Who wrote the movie this time?
And that's the thing with every sitcom. Every fat, not good-looking comedian ends up with the hottest woman ever as his wife. So.
Or the people who have like the weirdest, the people who are like the most absurdist of characters end up being the funniest ones, or the ones that the audiences gravitate towards. Like when you watch How I Met Your Mother, everybody wants to gravitate towards Barney.
For sure.
Because he's the most absurdist of all the characters.
Ted's a mopey bitch.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was never a fan of Ted.
Ted's supposed to be the audience.
Ted was like Ross from Friends. It's just like, can we just kill this dude off?
I'm not a big Friends guy.
I used to watch it on TV. I don't really care if Netflix gets rid of it.
I don't care. I'm a Seinfeld guy all the way through.
I'm a Seinfeld guy.
I'm a Seinfeld guy.
Where's Kramer?
Kramer!
Stop saying the N-word.
You said it again. Kevin Hart's here. He doesn't find it funny. No, fun fact though, for anybody who watches Seinfeld, oh, my voice cracked. For anybody that watches Seinfeld, I have the Kramer portrait from the show.
Really?
Yeah, I have it in
like
my room.
Like in your room? Hell yeah.
I have just a giant portrait of Kramer coming up, and I've had friends come into my house and see that, and they're like, "Who the fuck's this guy?"
They don't know Kramer?
Yeah, they don't know Kramer. They're like, "Why do you have a portrait of some random dude up here?" And I'm like, "Dude, that's Cosmo Kramer."
I don't know his actual name, but
Michael Richards.
Michael Richards, yeah. That's funny.
Mr. N-word.
Yeah.
He said the N-word before it was cool.
Are you a fan of South Park?
Oh, hell yeah.
Have you seen the episode where what's his name? Stan's dad? Randy's on the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh yeah, and it's naggers.
People that annoy you, niggers. But then
they slowly pull up the A that's between it.
But Michael Richards is actually in that show, on that episode.
Oh really?
Yeah, they like his characters in there, and there's like, because they started calling him the nigger guy, and they end up banning the word nigger guy, but they don't ban the word nigger, and it's hilarious because they're all celebrating at the end, like, we won't get in trouble for saying nigger guy anymore.
Again, as much as I support the idea of, people should say whatever the fuck they want, they really shouldn't feel like they're restrained by anything. At the same time, like for the people on the right, it's like, you can't go, watch this, they're gonna get mad when I go and shout this word, and then you're the ones who also get mad when somebody else comes and says happy holidays at you. Do you ever sit and realize that the Happy Holidays argument, the Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas argument, is the same exact argument as Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter?
Oh shit, that's a good point.
Merry Christmas isn't ignoring all of the other ones. We're just saying Merry Christmas because Christmas is an important one too.
The Merry Christmas argument's so egotistical though. It's like there's 4 other holidays this month at least, so chill the fuck out. I mean, You're celebrating Christmas, and it has nothing to do with your deity.
Yeah.
But you're too stupid to realize that because you're dumb.
Well, again, I'm just trying to point out that it's the same argument, but on the opposite side for them, and they don't realize the irony.
Yeah,
that they're
that's
going,
true.
we're just trying. We know the other ones exist. We're just trying to point out what's important for us. Why is that so bad? Why is Jerry Seinfeld talking about this?
Black Lives Matter is the same thing as saying Merry Christmas, like fighting. Well, no, not on that scale, because black people don't matter.
I thought you were going to say,
I kind of went.
You know what? I think a holiday might be a little bit different to a whole group of human beings in the country.
That was a bad comparison. But
You just said Christmas doesn't matter.
You see what I was trying to make.
Yes. That's gonna be so used against you, dude. You're fucked.
It's too bad I don't have like enough followers so someone could edit that clip and just be like, listen to what this motherfucker just said.
See, that's what I thought too whenever I was coming on here, because I've heard a few episodes where people talk about like people saying nigger, and I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying it. I was like, what kind of pompous asshole am I that I think people are gonna give enough of a shit to go and edit that out of me?
I don't know. I don't think any word should be censored, really. I mean, if
I
you
agree.
go and yell it at someone, you deserve to get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not
The way
gonna
I
be,
always saw words like retard and like spick or other words like that is like, it's still a curse word. The right ones, a lot of times the right want to treat it as if it's a normal word. Like, no, it's still a curse word. It's still, a word that should probably be censored, in front of kids.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be held on another spectrum. I mean, opposite side of a spectrum to another word like faggot. Like, a lot of people don't see as much of an issue with faggot as they do the career-ending words. And other times it's just...
What's the career-ending words? Is faggot not a career-ending word?
I don't think so. I haven't seen anybody lose their career over faggot.
Well, I mean...
If there's a really good argument...
Kevin Hart lost his Oscar hosting abilities.
Was it because he said faggot? I thought it was just because he's making jokes about gay people.
He did use the word faggot in one of the tweets. But, I mean, the other joke was really if I had a gay son, I would... And he had a dollhouse, I'd break it over his head.
Well, it's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he gets paid to tell jokes.
The funniest thing I thought about that incident was that Billy Eichner was the one who was like criticizing him for it. And I was like, Billy Eichner, your job is to go on the street and curse at random strangers. Like, I guarantee if you go and find one of his episodes, there's like one time where he goes and asks the lady a question and she's like, and he's, you've seen the show where he curses at him and keeps moving.
I don't even know who Billy Eichner is.
He's the guy that does Billy on the Street, where he comes and asks trivia questions to random
is that
people
guy
in New
who
York.
has like one eye that's a little closed? Okay. He was on Parks and Rec, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has a show, I guess I just talked about this for the audience, but he has a show where he goes to people in New York and he asks them like random trivia questions, and then whenever they don't, the joke is that he calls them a name or he roasts them really fast and then just keeps walking. And there's plenty of times where he's asked women questions and they're like, and he goes, "Oh, you whores," and goes and walks off.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, you do not. I was like, you don't have the same argument when you're the one who's calling complete strangers on the street whores.
Yeah, that's a great argument because you can pull up anyone's past. Cause
that's my point.
Like,
is that
like when Megyn Kelly got in trouble because she said something about blackface, she wasn't even being racist. She was like, "Oh, well, back in the day, it was different." That's pretty much the gist of her. That was her point. But then, Jimmy Kimmel and everyone's talking shit, and it shows Jimmy Kimmel actually in blackface pretending to be Karl Malone. Yeah, and it's just like.
Or Sunny in Philadelphia, one of the greatest shows in history and one of the greatest shows on TV right now, has made 3 jokes out of blackface with 2 characters doing blackface.
Lethal Weapon 5?
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 5. My favorite bit from that episode was Frank going, "Look at James Earl Jones. He does a great blackface." James Earl Jones does blackface because he's a black man. No, he's not. He was Darth Vader. Darth Vader was black. No, he wasn't. They took off the helmet. He was white.
Dude, that show is awesome because it's
one of the greatest comedies in U.S. history.
They've never shied away from pushing the envelope. The very first episode is the gang gets racist. Yeah, and it's like
this new season they went full on into the Me Too thing. And again, much like South Park, it wasn't taking sides. It was just poking fun at the issue itself, and that's what I love about South Park. Yeah, I just started the new season, but I saw the episode where the kids were in class and you can hear the gunshots going off in the hallway and everybody's still doing the class and they're like, "What did you say, Eric?" "I said it."
The most recent episode is about anxiety, and it's like making fun of all these people who are like on social media just bragging about, "Oh, I have so much anxiety."
Yes, that annoys the shit out of me.
Cartman puts on a cardboard box and it projects his phone into his face so he doesn't have to interact with anyone. He can just look at his phone all day. And then it ends up like what Kyle calls him out. He's like, "Everyone has anxiety, Cartman, you selfish piece of shit." And he's like, "Everyone has anxiety?" So then he goes to the mayor and convinces the mayor that everyone needs a cardboard box over their head so they don't have to interact with anyone. And then there's another big theme on that episode, but I forgot what it was. It was anxiety. Oh, and PC, the PC principle?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he has a whole bunch of babies, and they're all PC babies.
Oh.
So they go around to bars, and like someone will make a joke, like a gay joke, and they all start crying. And it's like, okay, PC babies, we'll stop doing this. We'll stop doing it right now. And it's so funny and accurate.
One of my favorite jokes they did that was trying to be more satirical was when they were doing like Family Guy's gonna air their drawing of Muhammad on there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we got threats from the Muslims, we're not gonna air that episode. Then they ended up in airing it, and they're like, oh look, nothing happened. Like it's not a big deal.
And they never actually showed them. They just showed a censored box.
Yeah.
And that's what I love so
Look
much.
at it, it's Muhammad.
They can't show those episodes ever again on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
But you can go find them. Like I watch them all the time.
I watched it when it was on Hulu.
Honestly, like South Park is like my biggest influence when it comes to comedy.
Really?
That's what got me into comedy is the idea that, oh, you don't want me to do this? Watch.
You know what's weird? You know what my two biggest influences on comedy were?
What?
Jerry Seinfeld stand-up specials.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld! Well, in fact, he's my favorite comedian. Well, tied with my favorite comedian with Robin Williams, which leads to the second movie, which was Mrs. Doubtfire.
Miss Doubtfire, yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire is one of the movies that wanted me to get into comedy.
You know what's crazy, though? Like, if Miss Doubtfire came out in 2018, they'd want, like, Robin Williams' head on a post, you know? They'd want to, like...
They were going to make a second one before he passed.
No? See, but the thing is...
Here's a new idea.
I think they'd probably complain about Robin Williams, but they'd be like, oh, Tyler Perry's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because he's black.
Yeah. No, here's the thing, though. Here's what I propose. We could still do the Mrs. Doubtfire movie, but let's make a compromise. We cross it over with Weekend at Bernie's.
Dead Mrs. Doubtfire?
Dead Mrs. Doubtfire. Somebody's trying to do Robin Williams' impressions. Somebody's like, how come Mrs. Doubtfire isn't talking? Well, we got to sit over here and then...
They should do a Weekend at Bernie's with Bernie Sanders as the president.
They should do Weekend at Bernie's as a horror movie. I don't know. I think horror movies are probably some of my favorite genres.
Really?
I think horror movies do the best reboots.
I think there's really good horror movies, but it's like there's so many shitty ones that you don't really get to see the good ones.
You got to find the right ones, man. It's all about finding the right ones.
Because there's so much shit that's made every October.
Let me tell you something too. One of my, I wouldn't say guilty pleasures, but probably guilty pleasure because it's weird to say you enjoy them. One of my favorite kinds of movies to watch is like the grindhouse movies from the 60s through the 80s. And when you're siphoning through those movies, you're going to find 1 out of 10 that's a banger. So you have to watch so many horrible movies with awful people in this grindhouse genre to find that one movie that is so worth the watch. And that's something I'll go into in one of my episodes for a podcast. I'm just going to do a cover of the history of grindhouse cinema.
See, I watched the Tarantino grindhouse movies, but I didn't really know that was a reference to like an older thing. Because we were pretty young when that came. I mean, you're younger than me. So you probably weren't. You were probably like an infant.
Well, no, I mean, I was, but it's still those two movies rank high for me as favorite movies of all time.
Those were cool.
Fun fact though, when I was in Austin earlier on vacation this year, I got to go into the bar that Quentin Tarantino filmed Death Proof in for that grindhouse movie.
Oh yeah.
So I went in and they were like, "Hey, would you like to get a table?" And I was like, "No, I'm just taking pictures real quick." And they're like, "Let me guess, a grindhouse fan?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm a huge grindhouse fan." They're like, "All right, come here." So they showed us where Quentin Tarantino was filming,
Nice.
where Kurt Russell was sitting, and then they have a special on the menu for the nachos Kurt Russell is eating in the movie.
Oh yeah, milk that shit.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But Grindhouse is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love doing
still
double feature.
Tarantino set in.
And I love double
$10,000.
features. I love double feature movies. That's something I want to do once I get fully settled into my house and I eventually fucking find a roommate. I'm gonna start doing double feature parties where I get people in and I take two movies that I think would be good as double features and then editing in trailers from YouTube that I really like.
Really?
And putting them as trailers in between the movies.
Do you have any like right now that you would, if you had the option that you would put together like tonight or tomorrow?
For trailers or movies?
Like a double feature movie.
Double feature movie. Let's see. If I was going to put two movies together, I would do Halloween, the original 1978 version of Halloween, and then Zombieland.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. It's hard to do it with dramas or thrillers because with pacing, there's always a build-up. So whenever they're done with that movie, it has to go to the stop. But that's why Grindhouse movies were so successful in that era, is because they were pure exploitation cinema, which meant that they could show whatever the fuck they wanted. So they could jump right into the action and not give a fuck.
Hell yeah. The Halloween's good because there's a really slow build-up, and Zombieland just throws you right in the middle.
Yeah. So once you're done with the high off of the killing in Halloween, you jump right into Zombieland that has the pace. A lot of it's thinking about pacing.
Great comedy. Why doesn't that have a sequel?
They're working on it.
Really?
Ruben Fleischer, the guy who's now directed Venom.
Mm-hmm.
He said once he was done with Venom, they're working on Zombieland 2.
Have you ever
Ruben
noticed?
Fleischer is working with the people who wrote Deadpool 2, and they're the same people who wrote the first
shit.
Zombieland.
Damn, Zombieland was great comedy.
Yes, it was one of my favorites.
Perfect blend of action.
It's
and
my
comedy.
second favorite zombie movie, right after Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the I forgot about Shaun of the Dead. That's
They
also
ju-
great comedy.
They just put it back on Netflix.
One of the few British comedies that I actually like.
Now that's a triple feature. That's what Edgar Wright designed it to be, a triple feature between 3 movies.
Oh yeah, because it was what was it? Hot Fuzz.
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End.
I haven't seen The World's End. Is that out already?
Oh, it's been out. It came out in like 2012.
Oh, how was it?
It's second after Shaun of the Dead.
Nice.
It's just a little bit better than Hot Fuzz, but it was really cool because Edgar Wright's good at genre mixing. So he took Shaun of the Dead and mixed in horror and comedy, and then he took Hot Fuzz and mixed in crime thrillers or murder thrillers and comedy, and then for the last one he did more like 50 sci-fi mixed with comedy. So think of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but with comedy.
Nice. That's super dope.
And if you watch them all 3 at the same time, you can see the pacing that's going through them all. And he uses the same actors in all 3 movies.
Yeah, that's cool. I like when they do that. Hell yeah, man. Shaun of the Dead. I forgot what I was going to talk about. I think it has something to do with zombies. Maybe
We were
double
talking
features.
about Zombieland.
Halloween, Zombieland. Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. Full circle. Woody Harrelson. And a cowboy hat again. Because he was wearing a cowboy hat in No Country for Old Men.
What did you think of is Jesse Eisenberg? He was Lex Luthor, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think he did that role?
I think he did okay. I think Zack Snyder casted him much in the way that he casted Batman with Ben Affleck to be so dark. He was trying to highlight a certain point of Lex Luthor that's not often seen in the comics or other versions. He wanted Jesse Eisenberg to be that outward expression of that internal version of Lex Luthor that people see, because people always see him just staring off or going, I have to kill Superman, in a calm voice, but you needed to see that outward expression going, I have to kill him.
I think he felt more like a Riddler.
Yeah,
in my
he
opinion.
would have been a good Riddler.
Definitely.
I'm excited because they ended Justice League by showing that Joe Manganiello, is that how you say his name? The guy that's married to Sofia Vergara?
Yeah.
They're showing him playing the next villain.
I've had people say I look like him.
Really?
Yeah, which is a good compliment. That dude looks pretty hot.
It's better than me. The thing I always get
Attractive man.
compared to is Gibby from iCarly.
I can see that. You're better looking than Gibby, but
Oh,
I can
aren't
see
you
that.
a sweetheart?
I am a sweetheart.
But they showed Joe Manganiello playing the next
Boston.
DC villain. That's which is going to be a lot of fun.
Who's the next DC villain?
Deathstroke.
Is that the guy who died for choking himself while beaten off? Is that not?
Crickets.
Oh.
No, I get it. I just want to be a dick.
I get
No,
it.
if
I
you ever
get it.
watched the Teen Titans show when you were a kid, he was the villain on that show.
Wasn't Deathstroke like DC's version of Deadpool?
Yeah, Deadpool created. Marvel created Deadpool as a middle finger to DC because of all the accusations of stealing.
Oh.
If you go back and you look at a lot of the comic book arcs, there's a lot of accusations of stealing, especially between the characters of Venom in Marvel and Bane in DC. Because when they wrote the original Batman arc for Bane, they had this bit where Batman was addicted to this drug that was making like a performance-enhancing, crime-fighting and performing-enhancing drug. It's comic books. But he would fight people and he'd be better at it and he'd have these bigger muscles and he would do better, but he had to fight the addiction to it, and the drug was called Venom. And then Marvel in that same year had their comic where it was Spider-Man who's addicted to the black symbiote suit, where he's got the enhanced powers and he's fighting people, and then he has to beat that addiction, and then it's carried on to Eddie Brock, who becomes Venom.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's like not necessarily stealing. It's like when they have parallel thinking, you know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's very close on. I mean, they named the drug Venom in Batman.
yeah, that
Come
is
on.
interesting. That is interesting.
But when Marvel was creating Deadpool, they were creating him as a parody of those accusations because Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson. And then when they made Deadpool, they named him Wade Wilson.
Yeah,
and when
I
you go
noticed
and
that.
read their introducing comics, they have literally the same exact story, the same exact origin story. They've changed it over the years, so they do seem different. But when they first started, they had the same exact origin story.
Deadpool is genius. Was Deathstroke like humorous?
More like dark humorous, I guess, a little bit. I mean, they brought him down a little bit when they brought him into the Teen Titans show, but that's because it's a kid show.
Did he break the fourth wall?
No.
Are there any other? I've never thought about that. Are there any other superheroes that break the fourth wall the same way Deadpool does?
DC has an equivalent, and that's Lobo.
That's like the Mexican dude, right?
No. Lobo's a giant...
I thought he was a Mexican wolf.
No, Lobo is a dude that rides around in a flying motorcycle from space. and he wears like this denim jacket, and on the back it says "Bite Me, fanboy." And when DC had first written him, he was supposed to be like again a parody of people's ideas of comic book villains and all that stuff. So he was the big badass biker dude, and he had the long hair, he had a big mustache, and they were like his name was supposed to mean like destroyer of anything he wants. And then they said like whenever he was 5 years old, he destroyed his planet. They were building him up as like the Chuck Norris of villains.
Yeah.
And after I think like a year or so, people loved that character so much, they thought he was such a cool villain character. They were like, okay, we'll make a DC universe.
Nice.
And now they're thinking about casting him for the movies.
Really?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan says he wants to play him, which would fit if you ever see like how he talks. He's, I forgot. I can't think of any dialogue he has, but he has that same like.
I don't know who he is or who the villain is. So.
He talks a lot like Negan in The Walking Dead, so it works with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Okay, bro, your movie. I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Info. There's a better word. Your movie trivia. Skills.
Oh.
I'm going to think of this word after I'm done on the podcast. You're a fucking idiot. But it's impressive. Your
Thank you very much, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, your catalog, your brain, your library collection. Okay, we're going to move on because I'm messing with myself right now.
You see, not having a life really pays off, you know?
Yeah.
Makes you a good comedian, makes you a good film critic.
Film critic. So do you you talk about directing. Do you want to be a director down the road?
Yes. I'd technically be trying it again because earlier this year I was trying to have my shot at it.
Film me like one of your whores. It's a Titanic reference.
I know.
Okay.
Which is funny because I despise James Cameron, which I'll talk into in one of my podcast episodes. But earlier this year I had written a horror film, a horror comedy that I was working with some of my college friends on and filming in a few towns away out in this hunting grounds where we could shoot guns, have people scream, and all this stuff where nobody's going to come in and ask questions when they see blood and gore everywhere.
Yeah.
And it just fell apart really quickly. Biggest problem was budget. And so I couldn't get the budget, especially since I was trying to make a very gory movie. I was trying to make it like a grindhouse movie.
Really?
And so I had a lot of gore going on, and the people I was going to have working with it, like the editor, the guy who was going to hold the camera for me, wasn't working out well. But I think it's for the best because now that I'm looking back at it, there's more things I want to do with it. I'm going to wait further down the road and try to buy a Super 8 camera so I can film it on film. And then when I edit the film together, I'm going to scratch it myself with like a quarter so it looks like a grimy film on it. So there's dust and everything on it. So it feels like a genuine grindhouse movie.
Dude.
And then within the next year or so, I'm currently, along with my comedy and all my other stuff, I'm currently writing scripts for 2 different movies. And I'm deciding whether or not which ones I'm going to do. And by next year, the year after, when I have my equipment, I have everything planned out. And one of them was going to be an Amarillo equivalent to like what a detective noir was in the 20s. So, you know, like those detective movies where there's the guy sitting in the office smoking a cigar, the hot chick walks into the room, and he's like, all right, I'll take this case. And I was going to do an Amarillo version of it.
Sergeant's busting my balls.
Well, it was just going to be like a private investigator sort of thing. And then what's funny
is... private investigator, open your door.
Whenever I was writing it, I was like, the detective character in this movie, the actor for it, that'd be perfect, would be Thomas. I was going to have Thomas play him. And then the second idea for the movie I was going to do was going to be about you guys, the comedians. Cool. I was going to talk to you, Skylar.
I just want to be Italian.
Well, I was going to interview...
What can I help you with?
I forgot my train of thought. I was going to interview 4 of the comedians that are around here and talk to you guys about like what got you into comedy, like what happened the first few weeks before you got into comedy. And I was going to direct this anthology.
Tell you what happened. I was
it's
out
been
on
82
the dock.
It's been 82 years.
Benny was talking shit.
And
he owed me money.
I was going to
sleeping with the fishes.
I was going to take those stories and put them together in a very Pulp Fiction-esque movie where I do anthologies of the different stories for you guys. Bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then I was going to end it with you guys all doing sets of the 806.
That's interesting.
Doing Star. And so that was, I wanted to emphasize a point in that movie about kind of think global, act local.
And we can make it a tragedy because we'll all bomb in our sets.
I could do that. I could direct it that way.
Well, since it's a movie, we can hire actors. Be like, laugh at us, please.
Pretty much, we could.
No, that would be.
I had already written the first few scenes for that one.
You can just edit in laughter, honestly.
I could.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I was writing it, I just wrote the first few scenes before I started getting into the stories because obviously I don't know y'all's stories, and I'd have to interview guys and talk about it, which is different. But I wrote a lot already story-wise for the noir film, which That one's going to be much more dark and gritty. I'm not sure whether or not I'd shoot it in black and white, but that's a decision for later on down the road if I decided to go with that project. Right now I'm working on getting the equipment for it, and in the meantime I'm working on the podcast, the comedy, and then I'm doing the screenwriting for those scenes.
Do you plan on shooting video for your podcast? Because I need to look into that. I think I'm just gonna have one stationary camera right here.
That works. I would say go ahead and try it. I don't have plans for that right now, considering I don't have a setup like you do where it's at a table and I have the mic set up.
Yeah.
It's just me sitting in a chair with a headset on and with nothing else around me. But once I get settled in my house again, it's like I get settled in my house and I get a roommate.
Yeah.
And I get the mics ready. I'll have my setup ready for it. And then by then, maybe cameras, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if cameras would even... I mean, they might help a little bit. I think people might be interested. Get more YouTube views.
There you go.
So...
Yeah, a lot of people are more inclined to watch the video podcasts. I know I am.
Really?
I mean, that depends on the podcast, because some podcasts I've gone dry on, like the H3 podcast. I used to watch it a lot, and then now I'm just like, this is starting to seem like...
I kind of just... I don't like...
I like Joe Rogan's videos.
I don't like the fact that I can't access other things when YouTube is playing. So I just listen to the audio. It's because that when I'm listening to Apple, I can go and check. I can still do my life. Do you subscribe to YouTube?
Do I subscribe to YouTube?
Like, do you pay monthly?
Oh, no.
Oh, but you can close YouTube and it still play?
Yeah. Let me show you. I'll turn the volume off real quick and find a video.
See, mine doesn't do... Maybe it's Apple that's fucking with me.
Well, yeah, I have a picture-in-picture mode on my phone, so when I'm on the home screen, it'll still play videos for me.
How?
Let me see. What was the last video I watched?
Porn.
They don't have that on YouTube. Well, they have equivalents to it.
Yeah, they have nip slips almost.
Here's a Key and Peele sketch. If it'll load, God damn it. All right, see, so I'm watching the sketch, and when I go to my home screen, it'll still stay there in the corner.
Cool.
So whenever I go to my other apps, it'll just stay
my
there.
shit doesn't do that.
It doesn't work all the time. Like, I can't do it with, like, music. It's like music, it knows what I'm doing. It catches on to my... Like, we know what you're doing. And it shuts it off. But in most cases, it'll play it when I'm outside of it. But it only works with YouTube. I wish it would work with Netflix or Hulu, so I can continue watching my shows as I'm doing other bullshit.
I don't ever watch TV on my phone. I feel like I'm addicted to my phone enough.
I don't watch TV on my phone just because I like looking at a screen, especially for movies, like I said, that I like to analyze. It's kind of hard to look at all the pieces of a frame when you're looking at it from your phone versus looking at it on a TV.
Oh, yeah. I feel that 100%.
I'm glad you feel it.
I feel it.
Back to the ASMR part of this podcast.
Back to the ASMR. This is called Bottles. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit aroused.
Little bit aroused.
Got some wood pressing against this wood, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I just did ASMR.
Let me try to think of one.
This guy told me he sleeps to ASMR.
I can get that.
That's weird.
It puts a sensation in your brain where it feels like you're getting like a little scratch in your brain. Kind of like when you get one of those like brain head massagers.
Have you ever watched How They Make It? Or How They Do It? Like that thing where it's like, this just shows, I think it's like a science show on the Discovery Channel or something. It's like it's called How It's Made.
Oh.
And it just shows long factory lines of things being...
I've seen it for little pieces of it. Like I've seen the disgusting ones.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's visually satisfying to watch something go down a production line.
Really?
So to me, yeah. So that's visually satisfying to watch how things get made. So that's probably like a version of ASMR, like a visual ASMR.
For me, visual ASMR is watching rain.
What's that? Actual rain?
Yes.
Oh, like,
what's that?
Is that a new show?
I've never been outside in my life. I don't know what rain is. My life is this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I get any rain, if I'm just outside watching the rain, or if it's even rain in a movie, it makes me just super relaxed. Just the sound and then looking at it.
The sound of rain's great.
The smell of rain's great, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I said it like it was a political opinion. Let me tell you what about that rain.
Honestly,
let's get back into the political discussions. You see, all right,
I'm
topic.
kind of sensitive when it comes to rain, so
we'll go on to another political topic. See, all right.
What's this impression?
I don't know, like it's like a 1950s broadcaster. I'm trying to think of something a broadcaster would say. All right.
I'm a private investigator, say.
Let me think of all right. Okay, here's what a broadcaster would say. All right, here's the new topic. The new HIV disease. What do you say? Is it real or is it just another little hoax created by the gypsies?
I don't think HIV emerged until the 80s.
I don't know. I don't know how timelines work.
Could be wrong, though. Do you know who Kyle Dunnigan is on
Did he
Instagram?
die of AIDS?
No. He's actually a really funny comedian on Instagram.
Good for him.
I just saw this video. I kind of want to play it.
Okay, go ahead, dude.
Let's play it.
Don't you dare come down those stairs without tying your shoes.
But look, you didn't listen to me when I said I want to make a mask ass. You gave me a
Tie your
dis.
shoes, boy.
ridiculous R2D2 boop boop bop master. So I shall listen to you about not running down the stairs with my shoes untied, ma'am. I look ridiculous. So why should I listen to you about running down the stairs with my shoes untied? If you don't listen to me, I'm running down the stairs. I'm running down the stairs with my shoes untied.
That's funny. He always plays like this retarded guy. Retarded's not the right word, special guy. And he's arguing with his mom.
I don't know if you were saying that just because of me, but I have a lot of friends that do that whenever they want to make jokes about that sort of topic.
Saying it because of you? Oh, no,
so
I wasn't thinking about that.
So I have a friend who's like, who will make a retarded joke, and then he'll be like, wait a second, Gabe, are you cool with this? I was like, you're talking to a fucking comedian. Yes, I'm fine with it.
I just say the word retard a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Nick Swartzen has a bit, it was from years ago, so it probably is more offensive now, but it was like, the only words I say are like cool, party, and retarded. And it's like, some lady came up to me after my show, and she was like, hey, just so you know, my son's retarded. And I found that offensive. And he goes, you just called your son retarded.
Which is a good point.
I just thought that was hilarious.
Well, that's one thing I found really hypocritical about those arguments, where it's like, don't call them the R word. And it's like, oh, thank God we didn't say the R word while we were beating the shit out of them. That's the thing I thought too, where they were thought like, it's like, don't say the N word. It's. I'm like, that's not. I think for people that want to make arguments for that community, that should probably be your last argument. When your first argument is we're getting the shit beat out of us in the streets.
But also like the N word, like nigga, comes up in every great rap song, and I like to memorize the lyrics. I'll just be no,
Well, it makes it really awkward for me when I'm in the car with my black friends.
Like that YG song.
Yeah.
My hitter, that sounds retarded.
Yeah. You try to censor yourself. All right, I'm not going to say much about this because I actually am writing a joke about when they censor stuff on TV. Or they were like, shut the cluck up. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Or they say cheese and rice.
Cheese and rice. And I'm like, thank God they didn't say fuck right before they showed this guy getting stabbed in the face.
I always thought it was funny, like when I would watch like that 70s show, and they'd bleep out. They wouldn't bleep out the word asshole. They would just bleep out the word hole. So it's like, you ass, boop. It's like, is hole the worst part of that word?
Well, plus for most of the people, they censor a lot of the shows that only the adults are going to watch. So, and then a lot of times they don't say anything. They just cut out the audio.
Yeah.
So like, that guy's up. And then they're like, what do you think the adult audience is going to, what did you think he said? I can imagine old people at home going like, what did you think, Francis? I don't know what he said.
Well, I'd prefer it to be just a silent blip than to just replace it with something stupid.
Yeah, out of the three options they have between beeping it, cutting out the audio, and then replacing it with words, I prefer cutting out the audio.
You know what I found interesting? When I was in Germany, and I don't know if this is true across all of Europe, but the TV there wasn't censored at all. Like I was watching TV at like 8 p.m. there, which they call it. They run off military time, so I don't know, 16 o'clock. But anyway,
whatever time their age of consent is.
There was this show where this lady was like raising money, and she just took her top off. She had some huge boobs. They looked fantastic, and it was just on regular TV.
That'll get you money. Sex sells.
They don't have the same type of infatuation with like bad things in Europe. I think they're just like, it is what it is, dude.
I've heard that a lot. I know some people that are from like England or other parts of Europe, and they've said like Americans seem super censored or super prude in comparison, which is kind of weird.
We're very prude when it comes to sex.
Yeah, which is funny because American culture is a lot of what defines modern ideas of how entertainment should work. Like a lot of the ideas of violence are based off of American Westerns.
But like, we're just as bad. I think it's just we have this sense of like, oh, we're gonna act like we're respectful,
Yeah.
Like
Again, it's just like that argument about the word. It's like, we don't say the word as we beat the shit out of you. That's our difference.
That's it. And bidets, I just found out those are like really common, like in every other developed country.
Yeah.
Except the United States. And it's just like, we don't want that gay shit in here. We don't want those French motherfuckers coming in here and shooting
water away from my beehole. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff like that too, where they're like, you wouldn't believe how crazy it is that Americans are behind or in different areas from other people. I saw one where it was about Wi-Fi in the U.S. They said Wi-Fi in the U.S. is very low compared to most countries.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like better than Kenya, but it's better than Kenya.
Hopefully.
Can you imagine that Jerry Seinfeld going to Kenya going, what's the deal with Wi-Fi?
What's the password?
What's your password? I'm trying to watch B-Movie.
I'm not Kramer.
I'm not Kramer. I won't use that word with you guys.
Where's all the AIDS?
I don't see anybody giving you guys help. You need more eggs. So, but yeah, I've seen stuff where they said Wi-Fi in different parts of the world is much better than the U.S., which is ironic because U.S. is much more developed than some of these countries.
Yeah. And I think that's probably like money, like we got the companies that want us to pay $60 a month for some basic ass Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is how the way those businesses are run within certain countries. Because I think when it comes to the Wi-Fi industry, that sounds so weird. When it comes to the Wi-Fi industry in other countries, I think they allow more competition than other places. So they're able to go in and say, hey, we've got this, we've got that. We can boost it more than the last competitor. Versus us here, where a lot of us can buy out other companies. And then when we buy out those other companies, we don't need to do shit because we don't have that much competition. Or the competition we do have, they ain't shit.
That's true. We need more competition. I think Elon Musk should just fucking throw a satellite into space and be like, everyone has Wi-Fi now. You're welcome.
Elon Musk reminds me of
He can do that.
of Samuel L. Jackson in Kingsman.
I haven't even seen Kingsman.
He's the villain in it, and he's like this guy that pretends to be an entrepreneur, billionaire. Where he's like, guess what, you guys? Nobody has to pay for cell phone plans because you guys just buy this chip. Go to this place to get a chip from my store, and then you put it in your phone. You automatically have infinite data, infinite bars anywhere you want. And then it turns out like all the chips are just brainwashing techniques so people can all kill each other to reduce world population.
That's probably real.
Yeah. Elon Musk probably thought of that when he was high with Joe Rogan.
He probably did. Elon Musk could be Iron Man if he wanted to.
Oh, yeah, he could.
Or he could be the Green Goblin. I hope he becomes one of them.
Yeah, he could be Green Goblin or Iron Man. I always saw him more as a Bruce Wayne.
His parents are dead?
Maybe. I don't know. I saw him as Bruce Wayne, and then I saw Dan Bilzerian.
I was about to say Dan Bilzerian is Bruce Wayne.
I would thought him was more of a Tony Stark.
Okay. I don't even know if he's like I don't know anything about him except he won a shit ton of money, and he's covered in bad bitches every second of his life.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram, and every time I see it, I just get more depressed.
He's so like ripped too.
Yeah. Have you ever seen him do podcasts, like when he was on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I didn't watch the full episode, but I watched like 10-minute clips on like YouTube and stuff.
Surprisingly more down to earth than you'd think for somebody who's a billionaire.
For sure.
That's what I think for some of them. Some of them it makes sense. Like Mark Zuckerberg, it makes sense.
I didn't expect Macaulay Culkin to be so normal.
Yeah, you think he'd get really fucked up like that kid from Phantom Menace. That kid ended up really fucked up. Or poor Frankie Muniz. Poor Frankie Muniz. At least it's not like him.
That's sad.
That poor guy.
He's doing well though. He's in a relationship. He's on Dance with the Stars.
Some relations with Dance with the Stars, but he lost his house. He can't remember anything from filming Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that girlfriend has to keep a journal for him every single day in case he forgets the previous day, like it's 51st States.
Whoa. We almost said the same thing.
We're going to get married.
But yeah, that shit is sad, man.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him.
Child actors
end up either really successful or they end up in a fucked up place. That's the difference between ending up like Bella Thorne or like Lindsay Lohan.
I don't know who Bella Thorne is.
She used to do one of the dancing shows for Disney, and then now she does a bunch of like teen characters or like fucked up characters in new movies.
Ariana Grande.
A little bit, yeah. Bella Thorne was in a movie called The Babysitter, and as I was going to talk about in the Grindhouse, my Grindhouse episode is It's a Modern Grindhouse, and she was like the sexploitation character in that movie.
I like her. I like this one I've never seen before.
Bella Thorne kind of creeps me out though. She gives me the
heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, the heebie-jeebies. That's what I was thinking. I was like, just say creeps.
Oh, okay, she's not as attractive as I expected.
See, that's what I'm saying. Comes off as more creepy than it does attractive.
Yeah, but I feel like if she looked at me like that, I'd be down.
Wait, what's the picture?
The first one is just her smiling, and her eyes are like... She looks like she's about to eat a dick,
Looks like she's about to eat a person.
Which
is funny because she plays like a killer in the Babysitter movie. She plays somebody who's like willing to kill people.
Of course. Okay, she's got some good looking photos.
Yeah,
nice lady.
She seemed like a pretty, just like Miley Cyrus. She seemed like a very average like teenage girl when she was doing the Disney stuff. And then as soon as she hit like the 21 mark, just boom down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, just started twerking on everyone on stage and dancing with dildos.
You see, she doesn't twerk so much on people as she does just like vape on dudes' dicks.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's called the reverse train whistle. She like takes in a vape and then just blows it down the dick hole.
It burns, maybe. I don't know.
That's probably one of my favorite jokes ever to write, or the hardest one for me to write is when I do the Urban Dictionary terms that haven't been invented yet.
Oh, yeah, man. And you could add on to that.
Oh, I still do, but a lot of the ones...
That like a 5-minute bit.
I do.
Maybe not 5.
Well, the stuff like
I have... 2.
The stuff I have written for it, I could make 5 minutes out of it, but it's one of those things where I'm so critical of myself where I'm like, no way the crowd's going to think that's funny, or that's just, I think it might be too dark. Like I did one that was called
But
this.
also, it's an open mic, so
Yeah.
fucking throw it out.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy.
Like I did one where it was called a snake and a mouse, and it's when you swallow somebody's hand whole using only your foreskin. See, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't work everywhere.
I don't know if that would work.
That's what I'm saying.
Try it.
Doesn't work everywhere.
That one, I had to think too hard about that one.
Then I had already thought of what I called that. What I said there was the reverse train whistle, when you take in a vape and then you blow the smoke into a guy's dick hole.
Yeah, that's funny. See, but it's like,
And then there's the I think I had one called like the hide and seek, and it's when two fat people 69 they're trying to find the genitals.
that's wild. That's wild stuff. Man.
That's my humor in a nutshell, man. That's why That's why I don't always kill. I don't always kill when I do my stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it goes over people's heads. But I've been told the same thing about my comedy, so...
I think that's just how stand-up comedy in general works, because it's hard when you're trying to get into the mind of an audience to get them to think on the same wavelength you're thinking.
Yeah.
Especially like when I run jokes by you guys. There's sometimes where I run jokes by you guys and it goes over your heads. Or it's just that I didn't say the joke right, or my logic is completely flawed. Best person, though, while we're talking about the other comedians around here, best person to run jokes by is hands down Chaz.
Really?
Because Chaz does either one of two reactions. And when he likes the joke...
Orale!
No, whenever he likes the joke, he'll like clap and he'll just go, yeah, like that's good. And then whenever he doesn't like the joke, he just goes, that's not funny.
I always send jokes with Colin because we vibe off each other pretty well.
Colin is somebody I definitely run jokes a lot with too.
We just do it over like Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, or whatever.
Yeah. We've done that a few times. Like I've asked you about a few jokes and we've talked a little bit.
Yeah, we have done that before. That's fun to do.
Yeah, that's definitely fun to get other comedians' opinions or help comedians like highlight certain parts in the joke that you didn't think about were funny.
Because Colin's also one of those guys where his jokes can very easily go over your head.
Oh yeah.
If it's not, you know.
Well, Colin just talks on so many different levels. That's why I envy him so much as a comedian, because his brain can go anywhere with a joke.
Absolutely.
Not just, I mean, I'm somebody who definitely likes to catch people off guard or intentionally bomb the setup so the punchline is funnier.
Yeah.
But Colin's like thinking 3 punchlines ahead within the same joke.
Yeah.
Or he'll make a big joke out of one whole thing, and when you think the joke's over, he adds this whole new punchline to it.
Yeah.
He's the greatest comedian in Amarillo, and honestly, he's one of the greatest comedians I've ever seen.
Oh. You hear that, Colin? He's probably not listening. He's probably at Express right now, folding shirts.
Here's some ASMR for you, Colin. It's me sucking your dick. For the record, I'm not gay. I had to make that clear at the Tease Bar show.
That's funny.
Because Kevin was making fun of me and saying like, "What are you, a virgin? Well, you gay? It's fine if you're gay." And then,
oh man,
I don't know. I've had people think I'm gay just because I think it's funny to make homoerotic jokes.
Yeah, and Kevin had some gay jokes towards the end that were super funny. I don't remember if it was about lesbians or gay dudes, but it was hilarious.
My favorite joke he did when he was at Tease Bar was like, "I don't have a problem with gays. I'm fine with the Elemental P community."
Yeah, Elemental P. I got some Elemental P cousins.
Kevin's another one who's just in his own league.
Yeah, for sure.
He's somebody who just talks on the mic. That's what's so good about him. He's so effortless with his comedy. He just talks to people.
It's called being a black guy.
And Colin can prove that. Because Colin does an impression of a black comedian for 3 minutes.
Yeah, that shit's hilarious.
Yeah, it always gets me. That's what I like about all of us when we do our comedy. There's some jokes that I still laugh at. Mm-hmm. I'm glad there's some jokes that I think some people, like some of you guys, still laugh at. And I'm glad it's not tired of. I was surprised that I think you liked the spit in the cop's face joke so much.
I love your material, man. I really do.
Thank you. I work very hard on my material. I think you were the first comic I saw when I started to do stand-up. And when I first started doing stand-up, I thought there was no comedy scene. I thought, this is devoid of anything.
Oh, same with me. Skylar was the first comedian I met. And that was just him and this other guy named Tristan that were comedians. It was just 2 guys.
Well, I couldn't tell you how scared I was when I saw you, Colin, and Skylar go up because I didn't know they were comedians to begin with. And then I saw you guys go, and I was like, these guys are amazing comedians. They're on professional levels. I mean, you guys still are. You guys are phenomenal.
Thank you, man.
I hope to be half as good as you guys. But I saw you guys performing, and I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? And from all I hear about show business, I always hear that it's competitive. Everybody's trying to get over somebody. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to go up and I'm going to have these other comedians staring at me as I'm trying to do a set. And then I remember I wasn't about 10 steps away from the stage when I got off set. And then it was you, Colin, and Skylar coming to me on separate occasions telling me how good my set was and inviting me to come to other stuff. and all these other things, and it knocked me for a loop. I didn't expect it at all.
Oh yeah, bro.
And I didn't expect to make so many good friends in the comedy business around here.
Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't expect that either. I thought it was going to be more competition, but like even when you venture out of Amarillo and Lubbock and Fort Collins, everywhere, like comedians, it's just a big family, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely going to be some dicks.
Yeah.
I haven't met any.
Me
but
neither.
All the ones that travel through are fucking the coolest people ever.
And that's why I never thought I've met so many good people that are comedians that are genuinely just good people.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I've never felt any competitive element. Even whenever I've seen a comic kill after I've killed, I never felt a single bit of intimidation. I'm just like, hey, that's awesome. I'm so happy for this guy.
Exactly.
And I'm just, I agree with you. It feels like a family, and me getting into the comedy scene came around in a time where I really needed it. I was going through a slump at the time. And it had this profound effect on me, and it just brought me out of it, and it just put me back on track faster than I really thought it would.
Hell yeah.
So,
yeah, man, we're a weird cult.
Yeah, it's a very weird cult.
Anytime someone does comedy, like even if they bomb, I like walk up to them like, hey, I want to build this scene. I want you to get better. If you want to get better, come back. Let's keep going.
Yeah. And even with podcasting, like whenever some of you guys were figuring out what I was doing podcasting, like when you were messaging me and you were like, hey, you're going to do a mic, and I was like, oh, I'm just working with a headset right now. You were like, hey, keep it up. I respect what you're doing. And I was like, again, I feel so at home being in this. I don't feel like I'm competitive in this sort of mini show business that we're in. I just feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
The thing is like one person's success doesn't cut off anyone else's.
Yeah.
Like the world's a huge place. We have
There's
the internet.
plenty of room for more comedians.
Yeah, exactly. There's not going to be too many comedians ever.
Yeah. There's never too much comedians. There's never too much porn.
Exactly. Porn never ends. Never does comedy.
Never does comedy. It's a good philosophy to live by. But that was when I was thinking about writing that movie about maybe doing the comedian story. That was a theme I wanted to go for and get across to people. It's like you don't have to be out at the comedy store, or you don't have to be doing, Madison Square Garden to be the what you vision as successful in show business, or a successful comedian, or successful in anywhere. Success is much like what I said with life. It's a lot about what you determine is what's valuable. I mean, I'm still going to try to shoot higher in my comedy career as well as my film career and in my engineering studies.
Absolutely.
I want to shoot for the highest that I can. But as far as where I am now, living in the moment, I feel like I've made it as far as I feel like I possibly can so far. And I feel like I'm working on what I'm meant to be at.
Me too, man. I feel that 100%.
And so I want to make a movie that inspires people to go, hey, I may have a passion about something, and I can express that passion any way I want and determine the value myself. It's not about other people. Sure, you might have some audiences. A lot of people don't like my, how dark I go in my humor, but that's fine. For every person that doesn't like how dark my humor is, I get one person that laughs their ass off.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all about, as entertainers, as you know, it's about the audience itself. And when you're a comedian, you're trying to get people to view, toss all that stuff that's been bearing them down out the door and come and sit down and laugh, just like you were talking about the inmates. It's about being entertained, shutting off your brain for a second, or turning it on in a different way you never thought.
Yeah.
And trying to get something new out of life, try to get a new perspective or a new perception of it. And that comes from an entertainer's standpoint as well. I've developed so many different philosophies or different thoughts on life just as a comedian, and then now working as a filmmaker, that's
100%.
something I'm changing my views on as well.
Yeah, comedy makes you look at life differently.
Yes.
So does mushrooms. I think that's
glad you added the comedy onto that.
The idea of the spreading inspiration and like telling people to go for what they want. That was my main thing when I was like, dude, you're doing a podcast. Like, so many people are like, well, I would do comedy, but like people are super sensitive and everyone's doing comedy. Like, you're just being lazy.
Yeah.
You just don't want.
You're creating excuses for yourself.
Yeah, you're afraid to pursue what you want. Like,
or like I said, people limit their perception of what success is. So they think, I should do comedy, but it's so much work to end up, getting to a place like Madison Square Garden. It's like, you don't have to be at Madison Square Garden. I did Tease Bar with you guys last week. That was just as the same high as I feel like I would have gotten if I was, in a big audience. I'm just glad that I'm out there putting out what I can. It's, it's not about the quantity of the audience. It's about the quality of the art that you're putting out towards people.
And the art is getting better every time we go up. So
especially whenever you not just challenge the people that are in the art with you, but you also encourage them. And that's what I'm hoping to do with that movie, is just say, I wanted to challenge people into saying, I can do better, and then encourage them to say, I will do better, and I'm going to be the best me I can be in life. not just in as an entertainer. It could be in any sort of field you want.
Yeah.
Or
nice.
any perception of life. Like, say, somebody who's, isn't quite sure on how they view religion. I want to inspire somebody to go, you know what, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to take in what it looks like and other standpoints of religion. I want to think about it as hard as I can and then do what I want and think for myself and get it done.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Like, people are afraid to be themselves. And like you were talking about, like, some people aren't going to like you. But if you go on YouTube, you find the most liked video, it probably has like 10 million dislikes.
Yeah.
Like, people are always going to dislike you whether you follow your dreams or not. So you might as well fucking go out and do that shit.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things to recognize when you're going through in any art form is to think for yourself, because your style is based on you and what you are.
That's very important.
That's a frustration I have with a lot of movies I see, where I can tell that they're trying to go for something to say, but they're not so much as inviting discussion as they are telling you what to think. Like, that's a problem. I mean, before I say this, I definitely want to preface this by saying it's nothing against Christianity. I'm a Christian, but I find most Christian movies to not be doing it right. Like, a lot of people love God's Not Dead.
I find most Christian music isn't doing it right.
Yeah. And so, like, when I saw God's Not Dead, I got so frustrated watching it. It's nothing against the audience. That's always something I always want to mention in my podcast. It's a hate the player, not the game.
Yeah.
I mean, hate the other way around. Hate the game, not the player. If you're going to hate a movie, hate the movie, not the people who love the movie. So it's nothing against the people who like God's Not Dead. My problem was how they made the movie, and a lot of it was just trying to push people to think in a certain way. Go, you should think this, and instead of inviting discussion or inviting a build in what the ideas of religion are. Because as far as religion goes, we still haven't figured out everything. We still have so many more things to theorize about. And I would recommend for Christians that are listening to this, if you're trying to find a movie that'll build a good catharsis with you, or if you're trying to think about
catharsis, I like that word.
That's a fun word. If you're trying to find a movie that'll build a catharsis or try to inspire you to think more on the elements of religion, watch Silence. That was a movie that Martin Scorsese released last year.
Of the Lambs?
No, very different from that. It's got Andrew Garfield and Liam Neeson in it,
and no audio.
Yeah, it's got no music. It was a style choice he did, no soundtrack.
I like that. How's that work out?
It's perfect.
Really?
I saw it in theaters when it was in Amarillo for 2 days, because it was an independent film with Martin Scorsese. And
wow,
I'm not somebody who cries a lot in movies, especially when it comes to a spiritual level. But that movie cut me deep, because it goes into stuff that Christians aren't usually comfortable talking about, because it's a lot about Jesuit priests in going to Japan during the Tokugawa shogunate, which was a time where they were persecuting any Christian missionaries that were coming in.
That's a good cartoon. Oh wait, that's a samurai, right?
That's Samurai Jack. But it was a time where they were torturing either the Japanese inhabitants, or they were torturing the Europeans that were coming into the country, either to get them to reform back to their culture, or in order to murder them and make a point to the other people. And it asks the question that a lot of people don't really think about with Christianity, is like, how far does your will with Christianity go? Because it's easy to say, I'm never giving up on my God.
Yeah.
It's something I'm due. But whenever you've got steaming hot water poured out of buckets with holes at the bottom poured all over your chest, or you have to watch people that you love getting tortured with, I'm not going to describe the torture scenes. It's very gruesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, though.
When you see that going on, it's not easy to keep that will, especially since everybody's perception of God is different. Because when you view the idea of, like, if you apostatize for the sake of others, that's something that it's a kind of sacrifice that Jesus would want. Jesus wants people to sacrifice themselves for others. But when you do that sacrifice, you're in turn denouncing your God in front of other people. So you have to question, okay, how does that going to work within the ideas of religion? Would a Catholic say that's okay? Would a Lutheran say that's okay? So I like movies that inspire people to think in different ways, not for the sake of hating other people or hating other denominations or other thing, but so we can have a discussion and say, maybe there's a topic of God, or maybe a topic of any sort of spirituality that we haven't really gone into. Or maybe there's more stuff to talk about. And if we find more stuff like that, we can reach a more common understanding and similarities amongst us and start loving each other more.
That's the issues with religious sects, especially in Christianity.
Oh, hell.
I mean, I don't know if there's a ton of versions of Jews, too. There's probably a ton of versions of Muslims.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just like, oh, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
Well, why? Just because.
Which is funny, too, because...
we didn't look into it. We just don't do it.
That's what I think is funny, too, where, like, you go to some churches and they're like, well, we're trying to purport peace and do all this. And it's like, yeah, but you guys are the ones that fought each other just because you thought Jesus ate a different meal. So... you just got to accept, you have to be able to respect somebody else's interpretation while also taking that interpretation into thought when you're trying to define what life is. Because, like, a lot of my ideas of God or religion are different than from what a lot of churches would think.
That's interesting. No, I've been trying to write a joke about special places in hell. Like, they always say, oh, they have a special place in hell. Like, who designates all the special places, you know?
Yeah.
And is the guy who ate too much bacon, is he in the same place as Jeffrey Dahmer? Like, is that... He should
No,
be on the lower level, right?
I always like to think if you're a better person and you go to hell, you just get least bad things. Or it's like you're burning in hell, but you still get frozen yogurt.
It's not frozen, though.
It's not frozen, though, because it's hell.
That's funny.
Somebody else is like, hey...
I still have a Toyota Camry. It's not that bad.
Yeah, so somebody has to take things into account. So some guy's like, I'm getting fucked in the ass for all of eternity, but Bill here is getting fucked in the ass with a drill bit. So, it's less bad.
Still have my fingernails. So
I still have my fingernails. At least nobody's touching my penis. Just the ass with me. They're giving Bill over there the reach around. They're giving him the shotgun click.
Oh, that's funny.
Did you ever read that book about that guy that went to hell?
I think no. What's it called?
I think it's called like 24 Minutes in Hell.
I didn't read it. I've like seen it referenced and everything.
I read it when I was younger, when I was in Christian school. No, I'm not going to dig into it too much right now because I'm writing a
You
Lutheran.
go to a Christian school?
I did. Went to a very Christian school.
Were there nuns?
No, not Catholic Christian. It was a Lutheran
Oh, that's
Christian.
good. Proud of you.
So it was just molestation.
Martin Luther.
Yeah, pretty much. It was Martin Luther. But the school was so Christian that the science textbooks in there were telling us that the earth was 10,000 years old.
Really?
Yeah. And it was at a time when I still hadn't learned math yet. And I was like, 10,000 seems a little low. I just learned what the thousands were. I don't think that's it.
Well, the thing is, like, we don't even know how old the earth is. I mean,
Does it matter?
That's a good point, too. But, like, it's like people are like, oh, you're Christian, you believe the earth's only 7,000 years old. Like, the Bible doesn't say.
Yeah.
Like, it said it was void. Like, it could have been there.
Yeah.
For 50 billion years if you wanted it to.
That's why I'm very skeptical or very hesitant about going to certain churches because I don't like listening to sermons where they tell me what to teach. And because I'm always like, well, you're getting that interpretation and you're going into a totally different area where you're making accusations or you're making claims that have no biblical backings to them.
Exactly. There's like, if you go to any like big modern day church where they have a giant band and a bunch of lights, they just take out one verse and be like, this is why your faith is like a pickle.
Yeah.
Because you got to soak up the juices for Jesus. And then he just talks about pickles for 45 minutes. And it's
but the point
we
is
didn't
that
learn anything.
And then he ends up with being like, but keep the pickle away from your bum because homosexuality is bad. That's an irritation I have because, I mean, an interpretation I have with God is that I think a lot of his views on people has evolved. Honestly, I do think God's gotten more woke. And I think God's probably evolved just like our culture has. Like when a lot of people quote the Bible and say that the gays are going to burn in hell, they reference like very, very Old Testament, early times in history where they're like, they're saying the gays are going to hell. I'm like, yeah, but they also said incest was okay back then. And
Did they?
Yeah. There's after Sodom and Gomorrah, I think I forgot the. Oh man,
Oh,
Christians
no,
are gonna hate me.
They didn't say it was okay. That was you're talking about the what's that dude's name? Lot and his two daughters that raped him, got him drunk and raped him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not saying that's.
But if you read the logic's like, oh, we're just going to preserve his bloodline so he can have more kids.
Yeah, that was their logic because they thought the world was over, but it was really just those two cities.
But like I said, I'm just saying like the culture when it was written is different from the culture now.
Absolutely, and I don't think it's like that God is evolving. I think it's just like it's a historical book, so it showed everything, and it showed how savage we were. It shows the growth of humans, honestly, when you go through it.
And I think the way God works with events now, like world events, is different than he would have, or the way it would have been perceived he acted back then.
I don't know, maybe. Because he also says he doesn't change. So.
And see, like I said, this is a discussion. We're having different interpretations of it. I just, and I mean, my interpretation of God right now may be completely different as I, look into it more, or as I go to church more, as I talk to different people and have more discussions. I just think that what we're having right now, this discussion is great because we're building in a different thought pattern of how we perceive God.
And I don't think...
Because I'll be honest, nobody has it 100% figured out. Not a single person.
The thing with the gays, gay sex, marriage, whatever, it's like that's just as bad as what I do when I'm just lusting after a woman. Yeah. And it's the same.
Sin is a sin, dude.
Yeah. I mean, like, I jerk off
and even,
occasionally.
Yeah, even in the world where we're calling that a sin, you still have to recognize that, like, even by the Christian standards that would say that it's, the sin that goes to hell, it's like, but is it really that crucial to somebody's soul when, say, there's a gay, like one of my best friends is gay and he believes in a God. And so it's like, so this guy who believes in Jesus Christ, but it just happens to be gay, does that mean he deserves to go to hell, versus the guy who does believe in Jesus Christ, but is telling everybody else they get to burn in hell? That guy's spreading hate versus my friend here who's spreading love to other people. That guy's acting more in Jesus than this other person ever will.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's, I mean, we have things we need to work on and improve on. We all make mistakes.
Of course.
But the bad part about it is, like, you're pushing people away from God by saying, oh, you did, what's it called? Sodomy.
Yeah.
You can't come to this church. Jesus doesn't love you.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you're
separating yourself from God.
You're turning people away from God.
Yeah. You're turning people away from God, and you're separating yourself from a relationship with God. Because God, it's going to be hard to have a conversation with God where it's like, don't worry, I'm doing everything right. Those people suck. I totally spoke on your behalf. Big deity that's looking over all of us. I spoke on your behalf to tell them that they're going to hell. I made the judgment for you. Don't worry.
And I think that's what turns people away so much. Is like,
that's why a lot of times I don't blame people for stigmatizing religion, because it's like we're not putting a good example sometimes out there.
Religion's super corrupt.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just like everything else.
There's plenty of things I hate about religion.
Same here. For me, usually my criticisms of religion go from the more organized level of it. Where I think a lot of the organized levels of Christianity are hypocritical, where they want to spread hate in one way, but they also want to say that God is loving and accepting in another way. And I was like, but you just defied what exactly your base principles were that you were telling people.
That's super deep. Super dope.
Super dope, super deep.
Yeah. That makes me want to go watch more Jordan Peterson.
I got to read his book. I have it on my wish list on Kindle.
It's pretty good. I have so many books on a wish list.
Yeah, I have more audiobooks. I'm an audiobook guy.
I might need to do that because I'm having trouble reading.
Well, I do audiobooks as I read books. So, right now I'm reading.
So you can pay double?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, it's book for books that I already own and I haven't gotten around to reading.
Oh.
So, like, right now I'm reading Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the book that got adapted into making Blade Runner. So I have the audiobook playing as I read the book, page by page.
Nice.
Which keeps me more focused. It keeps me from being distracted. Because if it's the audiobook without the book itself, I'll get distracted from listening. If it's the book without the audiobook, I get distracted.
Yeah, that happens.
I have to put the two and two together. So maybe if I am paying more, it pays off in the long run.
You're such a nerdy, talented bitch, dude.
I don't know whether that's an insult or a compliment.
I don't give full compliments, and I don't give full insults. That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, you even it out by going, here's a little bit to build you up, then I'm going to tear you back down. So it's like, hey, you're a Jew bastard, but you got to have a hell of a heart on you.
That's how I show love.
Yeah. You show love in the most mediocre of ways, most satisfactory of ways. You're just straight down the middle.
Yes.
Just like, I love you, but also I hate you. And then they're like, I guess he's pretty lukewarm about me.
I take a stance on nothing.
I take a stance. That's how I feel whenever I'm like on Twitter or something and political discussions go on. I'm like, I have no opinion on this. Honestly, in some political discussions, I'll admit I don't have an opinion just because I don't think, A, my opinion's going to add to anything, and B,
it's really not.
Yeah, it doesn't. To me, I don't think like my stance on it is really going to really put an impact on the people that believe in it or the people that are fighting for it. Like, I don't talk about abortion a lot.
Best case scenario, you spark a debate with someone who disagrees with you 100%.
Yeah.
And then you argue for 8 hours and then
nothing happens.
Yeah. No one comes to any conclusions.
Yeah. That's why I think discussions are better than arguments.
For sure.
That's why I believe movies are the best medium to bring that out in people.
Movies.
Yes.
Podcasts, long form discussions.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we can wrap it up. We're at 2:17.
Right. Oh, we really? Holy crap, that went by fast.
It's been a great codcast.
Yes, it has. A great codcast.
Great codcast. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Check out Gabe Kaspar's podcast. It's on Audacity. It's on Stitcher, Podbean. Is it on Podbean?
I think it is. I'm not quite sure.
It might be on Podbean.
It's pretty much on everything by now.
Pretty much on everything. It's on Apple Music.
It's on Google Podcasts. It's on Spotify.
Ghost of Tex.
Yes, so the podcast is called Ghost of Tex.
And he talks about different penis sizes and his preference.
Of course, 5.3 inches.
And movies. So
yes, penis sizes and movies. I'm going to switch that to my bio. Instead of comedian talks about movies, I'm going to put penis sizes and movies. What else do you need to know?
Those are the two main things in anyone's,
of course,
interest. So, we'll wrap it up. Ghost of Tex on Instagram. Is there any underscores in that?
Let me double check.
I'll drop a link.
Okay,
I don't even know if they look at my fucking paragraphs, but
does anybody really add after somebody puts out their information on there?
I don't know. That's a good question.
For my Instagram, it's all lowercase letters and Ghost of Tex. I'm sorry.
Ghost.
I'm still 20, okay? Still 15 at heart. So My username's all lowercase, Ghost of Tex, but there's a underscore in between each word. So ghost_of_tex.
Ghost of underscore. Wait,
That
ghost
means-
underscore of underscore text.
Yeah, that means nothing. I'm not going to get any followers.
You might get one.
I might
You
get one.
two.
So what, the first person that follows me is going to get a nice DM of my furry butthole. I don't know.
Is it really furry?
I don't know. I've never looked down there.
You heard it here, folks.
You breaking news, folks. No, honestly, first person who follows me and DMs me on there, I'll probably have you as a guest on my podcast whenever I get the mic up.
Ooh, podcast guest.
There you go. So there's a little enticing thing of it. Just
Yeah.
follow me and then DM me, and we'll talk in about late January, early February about getting you on as a guest.
All right. You heard it here, folks. I'll drop all the links down. Thank you for listening. I love you. Have a good week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I love you.
I'll have you on again. This has been a great episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is a lot of fun.
I tell a lot of people that, but like for real this time.
Okay. I bet you tell all the girls that. But before we go, I got one last thing to say. What's the deal? I already recorded my voice. What's the deal?
Who's listening to podcasts?
Who's listening to podcasts? I know I'm not.
Where do they go?
Where do they go? I look at my phone, they're not there. I didn't get any phone calls from anybody.
I don't use computers.
What are they even made of?
I just drink coffee in cars with comedians.
And we talk about the N-word.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Make it feel right for you. Yes, I'm for you. I'll take my time with you. How many of these stand in line for you? Don't wanna lie to you. Just wanna night with you. I just wanna make it feel right for you. I'm for you. Take my time with you. How many of these stand in line for you? Don't wanna lie to you. Just wanna night with you. I just wanna make it feel right for you. Yeah. Stand in line for you. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. Do what you do, what you do, what you know. I said I'm for you. I'll take my time with you. How many of these stand in line for you? Don't wanna lie to you. Just wanna night with you. I just wanna make it feel right for you. I'm for you. Take my time with you. How many of these stand in line for you? Don't wanna lie to you. Just wanna night with you. I just wanna make it feel right for you. Yeah.